the Rainbow Six Siege Invitational 2020. And as you can hear, there are some different voices now coming through your earlugs. It's myself, Desert Chew, joined by Ace of Pyrite. We're on day 2, and it's going to be G2 versus BDS. And as you can tell, a few of you were quite outraged by our shirts yesterday. We thought we'd step things up yet again today. Tomorrow, you'll be looking forward to the stopwatches and the monocles, so look out for those.
Not here for a long time, Des. We are here for a good time, though.
And a good time in suits is never a bad way to do it. But like we say, this is one of those games that I think, on paper, we would love to have cast the most. G2 versus BDS, the invited team versus BDS, who have rose through Challenger League, really made a name for themselves, and are now kind of hovering in the middle of the table in Pro League. Got a lot to prove, but after yesterday, they made that game against Wildcard look like a scrim.
I think it's fair to say we haven't really seen BDS play as of yet at Invitational. They've come out, they weren't really challenged, they didn't lose many rounds. It was pretty much an easy walk for them, so this is going to be a match on a whole different level today. The story really here is experience versus new talent. That's what we're facing up to. BDS coming in through Challenger League, super strong, as you say, really dominating that. Headed into Pro League, and I think the phrase that I used with yourself when we were talking about it the other day, Des, was welcome to big school for BDS. And they've come in and they're no longer a big fish in a little pond, and they're being challenged week on week on week, and with the drama around the rosters and things as well, you know, it's going to be an interesting outcome here today. They've got the talent, that is not in question, but do they have the experience to stay calm? The
real wonderful thing is that the real winner of this match is every EU fan. An EU team will be making it through to playoffs. That in itself is a great success that should be celebrated. But on these two teams, they've played each other quite a lot recently. Twice at DreamHack Montreal in the group stages, OGA Pit Minor quite recently in Pro League. So we're not short of history of these two teams to look at how they played against each other and what the outcomes were.
If you look at they played each other 4 times. G2 have picked up 3 wins there. So, you know, that's really got to go to say something. As it happens, BDS picked up actually the biggest win at DreamHack Montreal in the knockout phase, but G2 do have the history.
Well, let's go through the roster as well. If you saw them play yesterday, and you should know who these guys are. They are probably the largest brand in all of Siege. Pengu, Uno, Kanto, Sir Boss, their recent replacement for Brian and Fabian. So, Fabian yesterday didn't have the best day. He said himself, you know what, that was probably the worst I've played in weeks. I don't know what's wrong with me, but today, I'm back at it.
Self-proclaimed best player in the world. We all know what Fabian is capable of. All joking aside, I genuinely believe Fabian has got one of the best brains in Siege. You know, there's been comments back and forward about mechanical skill and things like that. He's shown over the last few weeks Pro League for me that he can stand up with the best of them when it comes to fragging. But without question, one of the best brains in Siege. The speed of his thought, his decisions, and the way that he manages and shapes that team when they're playing well, and the calls that you can see that he's making, the adaptation mid-round, really, really great talent there. It's just whether he can bring it to bear or not.
And it's not just a brain for the game itself, it's the brain on Twitter, the brain in interviews. We all know what this guy can be like. But knowing what the other side are like, as you can see on your screen now, is BDS. We've got Lems, Shaco, Rafael, RX, and Renshiro. And I know you especially, despite what the ratings say, Renshiro is a bit of a lover boy for you.
Renshiro's the one for me. Obviously, all eyes are on Shaco, and I am not discrediting his talent whatsoever. He is an absolute huge talent within this game. His aim and fragging ability is second to none. If you allow Shaco to get his head up, he will hurt you without question. You have to keep him beaten down and pinned in. You can't allow him to get firing, but the space that he allows for other players on his team, because there is such a focus on keeping him caged, allows players like Renshiro to come through huge. It may or may not surprise you, Des, but Renshiro just very slightly outdid him on the ratings in the first half of EU Pro League.
Absolutely. Well, before we talk more about these teams, let's go into a quick video to break down what this game looks like.
My name is Tom and I play for G2.
Well, I'm Lems and I'm playing for Team BDS.
The match was a little bit touch and go. I think they just basically developed their defenses on Clubhouse so that they countering like the most linear meta strategies to attack, and they took us by surprise on most of them, if not all.
So in the last game we played against Wildcard, the Australian team. We win 2-0. I'm pretty happy about how the team played in general. We had a good preparation for the match. We watched a lot of VODs and stuff. So yeah, we are happy to win. If we keep that level, I think we can go far.
Our next game will be against BDS, who we're very familiar with, as they're in the European Pro League as well.
For the next match, we play against G2. This is a very, very good team with a lot of good players. So it will be a good match.
BDS's greatest strength would be Shaco, and they generally funnel a lot of support into him. Other than that, close second would be Renshiro.
I think the better strength of G2, it's the fragging potential and the team play.
The things that we needed to work on, or we need to work on for BDS, is just purely get Fabian some kills, because he was struggling a little bit. But other than that, it's just communication, having a clear plan of action.
I think we can improve on maybe the team play. I think we can be better on the team play, but that's it. We're just gonna play whole game, try to adapt every round about what we see, and try to be at the same level and even better frag-wise.
We're very familiar with BDS, so I would expect a close game, but 2-0 in our favour. They know what's coming.
Yeah, good luck and have fun.
Told you, Des. Shaz agrees with me as well, and I'll tell you what, it's always a good day for me when Shaz agrees with me. Renshiro, one to watch without a doubt.
I mean, in that video, he did also say that he plays for G2, so maybe that's the roster move we've been missing all this time, and Shaz actually should be a player for them. We knew what he meant, of course. He is indeed the mastermind behind the whole operation there at G2, and got to say, having to occupy and deal with Fabian feels like a full-time job in itself. But hopefully today, Fabian is kind of one of the big talking points, I think. Again, didn't really have a good game yesterday, probably one of his worst ones on record. So today, he'll be looking to transform that and change it against BDS. One of the big things I'm really excited to see is how the duos of either side, the roamers in this case, deal with each other. Things like Fabian and Pengu together, coming up against Alems and Shaiko, and the wild card, like you said in Renshiro, what his impact going to be. But let's get into the map veto. I'm very curious to see how these ones go out. With BDS, it's very typical that we normally see them ban Villa. It has been their most banned for the longest time. Coastline going to be the ban, and
the G2 going to take an opportunity here.
Surely you do. That's one of their favorite. There you go. One of their favorite maps goes through. Wow, okay.
So G2 going to Villa. BDS will pick up Kafe. Not too much of a surprise. We've seen these two face off on Kafe a couple of times previously, I think. At least once, maybe twice.
We did, and I think it was G2 got crushed 7-1 on Kafe.
Yes,
Previous
they did.
Account, that was in the OJ Quals. The DreamHack Montreal, they won 7-4. So it's not exactly a weak map, but it's definitely one that hangs in the balance.
It's a roll of the dice, that much is for sure. Bank will come out as a ban for G2, and Border will finish things off for BDS, leaving Consulate as the decider. Now, I tell you what, Des, if we go to map number 3, Consulate is going to be spicy between these two. I am expecting fireworks one way or another. These two teams are... There's a bit of a rivalry building there. This is what I like. We've had 4 matches recently. We've had, yes, G2 taking the share, the greater share of the spoils there, but I feel like there is this real EU rivalry building between these two, and they're just really going to go at each other, I think, today.
The big one as well, looking at it, is 2-7 on Consulate. That was a win across the BDS. 7-2, a real crushing, and 7-3 to G2 when they played at the OGA Qual. So, again, the history of these teams, they're clashing constantly on these maps, and that sets us up for a really interesting fixture. But let's take a look at the head-to-head. We like to pick out a couple of players for you to focus on. None other than Mr. Consistent himself, regarded by many as the best player in the world by Pengu, and a guy who's challenging him for that title in the name of Shaiko on the other side.
Shaiko on his day is an absolute joy to watch. Look at that, 1.65 on the rating. You're going to see him taking those heavy fragging operators. Hibana Jaeger, also not uncommon to see him on the Ash and other, the 3 speeds basically. But generally, it's going to be one of those 3. Pengu, on the other hand, we know he's one of the best flex players in the game. He can do it all. We've seen him smoke most famously. We can see there IQ and Castle coming through. It's no surprise to see him out on the roam. It's no surprise to see him anchoring in sight. He's generally that player that will step into the breach and just do what needs doing to get the round over the line.
There's a lot of work to do on both sides, I think, and this is one of those games where I think every single player is going to have to get involved to a large capacity. There's no one that can sit back and take a back seat. It's going to come down to a lot of clutch moments, because once those roamers for either side are removed, it comes down to the anchor players, those who sit a bit further back in the shadows normally, who have really got to step up and shine. But I think the most important thing, again, comes down to those entry duels that we're going to see between players like Pengu and Shaiko, with Fabian probably getting involved and Alems doing the same. Speaking of Alems, as we know, he joined recently from Team Secret. He has been fantastic for them yesterday. A bit middling of the pack, we probably should say, in Pro League. I think he sat third in terms of overall team ratings. A positive 4 KD across about 60 or 50 kills or so. So again, still waiting to see him really shine. Yesterday he played well, but it was against Wildcard. This is his first real test.
He's certainly got the ability, there's absolutely no question of that. You know, we've seen him, like you say, through his days at Team Secret, we've seen him be an absolute menace on the roam at times and really frag out. But like you said, just a little bit of consistency at BDS. We need to see some improvement in that. Looking over to the other side, I've just realised on the whole stream so far, we haven't heard the name Kanto Raketti. How have we not mentioned Kanto? Yeah. Such an absolute force. Came into this game as soon as he was 18, onto the team, and real talent in the game. As it stands, I think he's seen everybody get better around him. He came into it, you know, head and shoulders above the rest, and there's been sort of talk about Kanto's form, and I don't think it's down to his form or his performances. I think everybody's just got better around him, so he doesn't necessarily look as amazing by comparison. He is still, without question, one of the most talented and one of the most dangerous players in Rainbow Six Siege today.
I think the thing you'll hear if you speak to any of the guys from G2, they'll say Kanto's been a bit lost in the last year or so. It's been a bit of a, not an identity crisis for him, but more for the game itself. It has transformed from having 1 or 2 massive fraggers per team to actually having to have all 5 members really step up and make themselves heard. The real interesting thing now, they've picked up Sir Boss. He is a hard support player. He'll be filling that role across the back line for the team. So for Kanto, they can now unleash him and just say, Kanto, there's the enemy, run him down and kill him. And that is the job that he does best. You give this man one job, he is going to shine. And that's why I'm super excited to see how he plays today. I mean, for those that are a bit new to this as well, G2 are a very well-known household name across multiple esports titles. The last year or so hasn't been the best for them. They've won the Invitational and have kind of fell away since then, and this is their resurgence.
Yeah, and you know, they even lost form before the Invitational last February. Let's not forget, there was the whole meme going around, the whole joke about saving strats, and that was on the back of some poor performances leading up to it. There's no question about it. They were not great in Pro League. It was Pro League Season 9. They didn't end up finishing in the LAN spots because of the performances before Invitational, so they didn't end up in that LAN final. They missed Milan, missed Japan following that. They turned up at SI, and as they always do here, they just seemed to have the performance of their life, and they went on to get into the final against Empire, and I remember the day, it was an unbelievable match. Opened up with 12-10 on coastline, infinite overtime, and then from there, G2 just absolutely ran away with it, and they looked like they were just head and shoulders above again, and it was sort of like a G2 is back moment, and that never really played out for them because they went back to normal competition and started to struggle again, and that's what we've seen going on. So it's sort of like the prodigal son returns. They are the winners of the last 2 Invitationals under the banner of Penta for 2018 and then G2 for 2019, and they are here to stake a claim for 2020.
And what I love is that they come in, it's almost like the champions are now the underdogs, and it is their underdog story. They came in with the invite. They failed multiple times to actually qualify through conventional means. But again, with the history this team has, being last year's champions, being arguably the largest brand in Rainbow Six, it wouldn't be an Invitational without them here.
For me, it was absolutely the right decision. You know, there was always going to be detractors.
Maybe we don't want to start an argument in Twitch chat.
This is it. There was always going to be detractors, no matter who was chosen. You know, my ranked team could have been chosen, and there'd have still been complaints about it.
What's your ranked team called?
Yeah, they don't even have a name, Des.
Oh, it's got to come up with I want your best creative one by
we
the
are
end
in
of the first
gold.
map.
But, you know, obviously, for me, it was the right decision. I think they needed to be here. I like to see previous champions have the opportunity to defend the title, and I understand the arguments about the qualifications and everything, but you know what? Everybody else in the world had the same opportunities to qualify as well and didn't. So I think that gives G2 a good shout. Do they get it next year? Absolutely not. You can't make it back. I'm sorry, boys, but you know, this for me is your one shot to prove now that you are everything that you appear to be.
And let's talk a little bit about Sir Boss as well, because he is the new player on this side. Some will remember him from back on his days on Penta, very recently seen playing on MKers in the Challenger League qualifiers that we cast a little bit back in the UK. I think he came in his first game. They played on Coastline. I think he went 1-8 or 1-7, something like that. It was a very quiet game, but every single player on G2 was singing his praises after that. They were like, the impact that he had, how much flexibility it gave the rest of us to really pop off. And I'd probably go contest to say there that was probably the best performance we have seen from those 4 players as a group when they've had someone else join the team with them. They looked absolutely phenomenal. And even yesterday, map 2, They got slaughtered, as we all know, 7-0 to the other side. It didn't end pretty for G2, but in map 1, despite being about 2 and 4 on kills, he had an 83% cost. His contribution was massive. Let's see if he can do the same here on Villa as we are ready to get into the first game. This is one for the history books, G2 versus BDS. Let's see which EU team can secure that first spot for an EU team in playoffs.
One for the history books indeed, Des. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that we are in for an absolute classic here.
An El Clasico.
An El Clasico, as a wise man once, or a not so wise man once said, Des.
Hey now.
It was Des, for anybody watching. So I think we are in for an absolute belter here. Don't go anywhere at home. I think this is going to be equally as good as any of the games that we had yesterday, if not better. These two are going to both be desperate to secure the playoff spot here and now. They don't want to have to go through and play on Sunday. They want the day off and they want to enjoy themselves and have a little bit of downtime Sunday, Monday.
You got to think about the small things as well in terms of not playing on Sunday. That's 2 or 3 more maps your opponents don't get to see you play on. There's less strats you're giving away, less chance for you to be analysed in your play. And yeah, across the group so far, there are quite a lot of opportunities for that. But missing out on such a crucial do-or-die game where you are forced to dig deep in the barrel and bring everything out, if you can avoid that, that is the dream situation.
So looking towards those operator bans, we've skimmed over them a little bit, but we will run through them for you. So G2 took Nomad and Mirror off the board. Mirror, no surprise. Nomad generally taken out to suggest you might have a bit more of an aggressive defence. It's you're potentially looking for those peaks, those run-outs. You want to be rotating up and down staircases, and you want to prevent the Nomad stopping you from doing that. BDS have taken Maverick and Pulse off the board, so that speaks to me of a little bit of a reduction in verticality. It suggests that BDS might be looking to defend bottom floors, potentially, Maverick to defend those hatches, but also things like the master bedroom wall. Maverick is quite often used to just get in there, open up some lines on there and just give some lines of sight into the trophy statuary site. Pulse is an absolute menace on a map like Villa where so much of the floor is destructible. Nitro tossers are a very, very real thing on this map. So playing the Pulse downstairs with that heartbeat scanner, all that information available to you, you just toss that nitro cell up on the ceiling above you when you see those heartbeats standing still and you will get kills. I've absolutely no doubt of that. So that's something that BDS were concerned about and they've removed off the board. There is still opportunity for the defenders to do that if we see Valkyrie brought at any point potentially. Mozzie, you know, they both have their own methods of gathering intel and information about what's above them, and they have the nitros. We're not going to see it brought out just yet from BDS, but it's more seeming that they were concerned about suffering to it, so it could be something G2 bring out.
I was going to talk about this if we played ourselves up towards the northern side on Trophy and Statuary, but as we're on this one, they've actually presented a pretty good opportunity. A lot of teams are starting to employ this Ela and Jaeger combo, namely being Ela sits in a spot, which is exactly where you're seeing push now, inside a closet, for example. And if someone tries to go in there, well, you're jumping straight into the Grismot mines and you're getting yourself hurt by that. You can't nade the Ela out because she's surrounded by Jaeger ADSs. They're doing exactly the same thing here, but also providing a deployable shield facing in towards Study. The whole idea here is that no one can push RX from downstairs because of the Grismot mine. There's 2 ADSs set up, one there next to the little closet and one actually on the red wall towards Study itself. He is very, very safe here, and outside of being surprised or caught off guard, there is very little chance that he gets seated by G2.
Absolutely, and one of the big reasons for playing there is there's 2 major default plant spots on AVG, in behind the bar or in behind the safe door that we've just seen run past there. And in behind the bar, you have to take control of it generally by opening the reinforced walls in 90 corridor and in Study. You open one either side of the bar with the Hibanas, usually low down, give yourself a line of sight, and it forces defenders who are playing in behind that bar away from it and gives you the opportunity as attackers to move in. So by playing a defender at the top of those stairs in 90 corridor, you're preventing that push, you're preventing that freedom for Hibana to get in there and open up those holes. We've got Shaiko at the minute just holding hard in Study there. We can see Lems and Shaiko have both taken some damage themselves there. Uno was taken off the board a little earlier on in the round. So we're 5 versus 4, but G2 looking reasonably comfortable at the minute. They're in sight, they're holding their angles, they're not aggressing too much, but Shaiko is going to get a kill onto Fabian there. So that leaves us now 5 versus 3.
Yeah, they're doing the right thing here, though, in G2. They are pushing from the north side of the map to clear it out, make sure there are no roamers up there trying to give them havoc once they do start to set up to go for a push. But what you're seeing from BDS is they're biting back pretty aggressively. 2 down already. That makes this attack a lot less scary than it would have been, not least as well because the Buck has gone. It could have tried to do some damage inside a study from below, or even inside the sites themselves. But that's just not an option for G2 anymore. All they can really afford to do is just push directly into the site itself, and that is exactly what they're starting to do. They've got control of study, getting that wall open up with the Hibana, as you saw, but there are 2 or 3 members still hanging around inside Games Room right here, which makes this very, very tough to deal with. Look at that, 3 members hanging around inside of the vault right now. They've got full coverage of both sides between them, and there is very little that G2 can do. Now into a 5 versus 2. I don't really see how they managed to bring this one back, Tim.
Renshiro putting that Maestro cam to great use and getting himself a kill with it there. We can see Sir Boss is just aware of somebody there, but shots onto the barrel of the gun will not do a thing. In goes the flashbang, and there we go. Oh no, the down will come in from Sir Boss, but he doesn't finish that kill off. Shouldn't have a big impact on the round, but RX will get him with one for himself, and a second onto Kanto Raketti as BDS finish off round number 1. G2 never really feeling close on that attack.
Can we just again circle back to a point we mentioned in the map veto? This has been banned, the first map ban, every single time for BDS that we've seen them play, probably in the last 3 to 6 months. I remember at some point looking at the stats and they were 0-0-18. Wins, losses, and bans. They had banned it every single time without fail. Now, that's not to say, and they probably were very rightly so, in scrims behind the scenes, working on practicing this map so they could bring it into their map pool. But teams like G2 have zero information about what they are going to do on Villa. They don't know how they play it. They don't know what operators they bring. They don't know what angles to expect. So everything is very fresh. And G2 here are being tested because they need to learn on the fly what it is that BDS are doing and adapt to it as the game plays out.
And that's not going to be an easy thing to do against a team with such raw talent as BDS. If you're trying to figure things out and you're having to stand around and think for 10 or 15 seconds extra, get those drones out, see exactly where people are, what is the setup here. Players like Shaiko are going to be running around the map, especially if he's playing Jaeger. He's got himself at least 1 kill here. He got 1 kill on the last round. And if he can add a couple more to that and that confidence starts building, what you're going to see is you're going to see Shaiko's movement increase. You're going to see him heading downstairs. You're going to see him rotating up and downstairs. You're going to see him becoming extremely slippery. And when that happens, that could be very dangerous for G2. That's something they need to be aware of, and they need to limit that. And the way they're going to limit it is by figuring out what BDS are doing very, very quickly so that they can counteract it and they can go on the offensive. Because when they're on the offensive, Shaiko won't have that sort of time and space to do that. He needs to then be in the right place, at least within touching distance of sight, to assist his teammates.
In that last round, BDS didn't even have to roam though. They just sat quite merrily on site, and they even had 3 of them, like I say, playing inside the vault, just watching the drone hole, watching either side. And G2 just simply didn't win the gunfights when it came down to it. Every single one being won out by BDS, which is why we saw the flawless round come through. Now we're going to Trophy and Statue on the top side of the map. This is actually becoming a less popular site now. A lot of teams, especially in North America, are opting to go downstairs instead and take over dining and also towards living and library. Now, in this case, they're going towards Trophy and Statuary. You can see them spread quite a lot here around the top side. More's trying to hold G2 out as they group around the north side of the map. All 5 members are currently lurking around this. What I expect to see is Fabian getting inside, though, and doing some work with that shotgun from downstairs. Although right now he's upstairs.
You've generally got 1 of 2 main pushers. Obviously there is the option of clearing out any roamers and using the verticality from downstairs, but generally speaking the push on the site will come from 1 of 2 locations. You'll either get in through study and move through the previous site, which is Aviator Games. You'll take control of the south side of the map and then aggress onto site from there, using that as your beachhead. Alternatively, you get yourself into master bedroom at the north side of the map, which is now the bottom right of your screen as we look at it, and you look to breach that triple wall and get into site that way to get the diffuser down. Now Uno coming in with a great opening kill, but it will be traded straight out by LMs. Shaiko off the board, which could be important, but as you said, there's Shaiko and LMs playing as a great duo yesterday and continuing to do so today. So if LMs can pick those kills up where Shaiko leaves off, again, it's going to be a tough day for G2.
Uno swung a little bit wide there when looking inside of Astronomy, because that black box in the back corner is where a lot of defenders will play. It is solid, you can't shoot through it, so it's just a very safe place to play. I think he was expecting someone to be behind the desk instead, which is why he ignored it out after getting the one who was on stairs. Led to that trade that we've now seen come through with Shaiko and Uno both being down. That is the Capital dead though. A lot of utility with the asphyxiating bolts and the smoke bolts to go for executes on sites that they now don't have available to them. We're down to 50 seconds and Kanto's going to find himself a kill. The fragger for G2 wakes up and finds himself a second, with Rafal also going down. And now they're in more control than they were last round. You still got to worry about the fact that there is an Echo on the board, mind you, unless they can bring him down soon. That's in fact him being the last one left alive, as RX is also dropped by Sir Boss. And this means he's still got a lot of work to do, going to find that angle, and Kanto 3 kills this round for himself. Welcome to the party, G2.
Great attack from G2 there. So what they did that really opened the site up was they got the Hibana pellets onto that triple wall that I was talking about in Master Bedroom, and they opened up a line of sight. That forced a couple of the BDS players to relocate, but the important thing was that Kanto was in astronomy at the time. He'd moved himself up the opposite side and created a little bit of a pinch there. So as those players had to move around in sight and adjust their locations due to the new line of sight coming from Master, Kanto was in position to take full advantage of that, get himself a couple of kills, which is going to be great for G2 because that's somebody they need to get on the board and they need to be firing, and that's exactly what he did, and it looked casual for him, to be honest. He barely moved his feet, couple of easy kills, and that was exactly what he needed. I think Uno getting that first kill onto Shaiko was good as well. I don't want to pin everything here for BDS on Shaiko. They have got a very talented lineup, but there is no question that Shaiko is a talismanic player. He leads from the front, he definitely pushes the aggression of the team. He is part of their motivation. And if he's off the map, then I think it does just have that mental impact sometimes that the top frag has gone.
You do get that with a few teams, I think, and BDS are no doubt one of them. Whenever I think of them, I do always think of Shaiko being the one playing Hibana, running around a map, looking to play the aggressive fragging role on a pretty crucial operator. But that confidence does kind of draw the rest of his team in, I think, and have them pushing up with him. And now they've got Alems on side. Well, that's just two of them that really have that capability to play so aggressively. So, I'm curious to see how the second round plays out. I mean, Kanto there was playing second entry, essentially, because we had Uno pushing in first, like you said, and then Kanto was there as a clean-up crew to follow in and basically resolve the mess that was created by those first couple of frags. It was really positive to see, to be fair, and with how those first two rounds have played out, I think it's fair to say that both teams are here to play. It's not going to be an absolute landslide one way or the other.
No, I think we knew, if nothing else, we would have a game here. Both teams very, very capable of challenging each other, and that is what we've seen almost every time they play. We've had the odd 7-2, 7-3, but generally it does come down to the wire. We are 1-0 as we stand at the minute, heading into round number 3 of map 1. For anybody who's joined us, don't worry, you haven't missed very much at all. You've missed plenty of action in the first 2 rounds, but there is plenty more to come. We are here on Villa, and we will have at least one more map to follow, depending on the outcome.
Lots of drone work being done by G2 as well, something that we used to speak about quite a lot, to be fair, maybe not so much at the moment, but taking pause in the middle of a round to reassess where things are going. You know, you can't just act on all the intel that you see in the drone phase. In fact, Stokes, I believe, was the one who once said to me, information is good for 5 seconds, and then it needs to be sought afresh immediately afterwards. And that's exactly what G2 are looking to do, making sure they can push in safe without losing members, because back in round 1, they did find themselves losing 1 or 2 very early on inside fights that probably didn't really need to be taken at that time. It was just BDS snapping back, G2 not having a response.
So we are downstairs in Dining Kitchen. We can see a number of BDS players just holding fast at the moment. We've got RX on the Mozzie upstairs, and I think he's joined by Shaiko. We've got Fabian looking to move in downstairs through the basement. He'll be trying to keep his approach quiet at the minute, but RX will open things up with the first kill onto Sir Boss. So once again, BDS put themselves into an advantageous position. We can see with the joy, the pleasure of our outlines there, the players obviously don't have that benefit. We can see Shaiko just holding those astronomy stairs. He knows somebody's there. Fabian gets himself a kill onto Renshiro. That could be a big one, but Shaiko will step up, trading that with one onto Kanto. Fabian a second on the round, and things are starting to go slightly towards G2, I would have said, but Ilem's getting the kill onto Fabian, and he's the man that's been having the impact so far, and that just shows how quickly rounds can switch around in Siege. Pengu and Shaiko challenging each other head-to-head. Pengu will come out on top with a headshot onto Shaiko, but Ilems will step in. As we said, that duo once again working back-to-back, and Ilems getting in there and trading things out. That now leaves us in a 2 versus 1. 25 seconds left to go, and Uno has got a huge job on his hands. He's trying to retrieve the diffuser. He's dancing around. He's taking fights. He gets the kill onto Ilems. It is 1 versus 1 at this point. He uses the smoke grenade to give himself cover. He's looking to potentially get a plant down. He has to do something, being limited on time. He will be doing so. RX is seeking him at this moment, but the diffuser will go down successfully, and Uno wins the fight. What a round from G2 in Dining Room Kitchen. It swung backwards and forwards, and at one point it seemed that all was lost for G2, but Uno comes in, grasps the game, and takes round number 3 for G2.
I love Siege. Your heart just pumps through your chest at moments like that. Those clutches are everything. It's what we live and die by. In Uno's case, it's what you win rounds by as well. Those first 3 rounds, I think, are epitomizing how this map is going to play out. Both sides have got capability, but it's going to come down to the wire when it comes down to the final rounds in these games.
I'm not looking for any sympathy because I love what we do. But just try and appreciate for a second how hard it is when the momentum is switching backwards and forwards like it did in that round. That was absolutely crazy. You get excited for BDS, and then the rug gets pulled, and you get excited for G2, and it just goes back and forth. But there is only one winner at the end of the day, and that is us, and that is you guys at home watching, who get to enjoy such a high standard of Siege being brought to us from the Six Invitational 2020 here in Montreal.
Back down to the original site then. BDS, despite not winning the second site, chose not to repeat it. Trophy and stat tree was discarded, and instead we headed downstairs. Now we're back on towards the south once again in Aviator Games. Expect to see a very similar setup coming out of BDS. They've once again brought the Ela and the Jaeger, which suggests we're going to see themselves with a deployable shield going down. In fact, I say that, and surely that's not a bug. Everyone with barbed wire.
I mean, we'll see if there's a lot of barbed wire on the ground.
There is already a lot.
There is a lot of barbed wire there.
Really 10 barbed wires
so that's it. For anybody who hasn't been watching, it might be your first day today. I know yesterday was a Friday, so you may well have been working or something, unable to watch. I'm sure you caught some of the action. But we've got a beautiful new UI. We can see Medics has just expanded it for us there very kindly. So it shows us all sorts of information about utility, reinforcements in hand. It's got kills, assists, deaths, and then that 4th number on the right-hand side is actually for objective play. So if they've had a plant, then it will class it in there. I think if you look over at Uno, you'll see that there'll be a plant number on there. Thank you, Medics. But yeah, it's been a fantastic tool for us. It shows whether the drones are in pocket, whether they're out active, whether they're destroyed. Be careful with the drone information. We have noticed 1 or 2 little bugs that are just being worked out at the minute, a few little kinks, but generally speaking, reasonably good information. And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure for us as casters. It's really given us an opportunity to talk about a lot of things that we couldn't before, you know, that we were sort of guessing on a lot of the time.
I'm very curious to know about these 10 barbed wires, though, and how much impact they really think they're going to have. I mean, it's definitely going to slow G2 down, but that didn't really seem to be the issue back in round 1, because for BDS, they had 3 of them playing inside the vault between sites, so they were happily covering both of them, watching through a drone hole, for example. They had a bit of a slow start in terms of holding out at the south side of Study. It's exactly what you can see RX doing now. As I said, there is no deployable shield, though, so it's just down to these barbed wires here, and the ADSs he's got surrounding him, as well as those Grismot mines, to keep the attackers at bay on the south side. Now, they did get control of it last time, and RX didn't die for his troubles. It was a flawless round for BDS. So G2 are the ones who need to adapt here and think of something different if they're going to be able to upset this setup that BDS has deployed to the field.
That's it. They can't necessarily just play into Study as they might have done previously. They need to think about that 90 corridor and exactly how they're going to deal with it. We can see Pengu now on the IQ, just on the rappel there, looking to possibly get in through that 90 corridor window. He's just holding angles, seeing if he can get any information for his team locations. Anything at all will be helpful. Fabian heading underneath at this point. He's got the skeleton key. Let's not forget he's also going to be looking to throw some nades up there potentially, and he will clear out some utility, I think. But RX gets that first kill on to Kanto. So again, we've spoken about it already, Des. RX, top of red stayers. What can G2 do about him?
Well, by the looks of it, they're very enjoying playing as a group right now, because last round it was 3 in Vault. This time round it's 3 of them all playing together inside the games, trying to push them towards 90. I think anything else to ensure that when they go for the gunfights, if the first man does lose, they can at least get the second with the trade as a follow-up. And there is indeed an awful lot of barbed wire down. I imagine even G2 are like, what the hell is this that we're playing into right now? I've never seen 10 barbed wire deployed before.
Fabian putting that skeleton key to great use and getting himself a nice vertical kill onto a Lems. Coming into the last 10 seconds, we are 4 versus 2 as a couple of quick kills go down. Shaiko with a double there onto Pengu and Uno, and that now leaves us 1 versus 4. Fabian with too much to do and not enough time. Diffuser not in hand, no control over site whatsoever, and I just feel there G2 really suffered from not ever really gaining any meaningful control of anything that they could use at that point. Fabian had downstairs, got himself a kill, great stuff. They had control of 90 corridor, and that is basically where it begun and end.
It was the same back in round 1.
Yeah, there was no position for them to aggress onto site. Did you see a single wall breach? Did you see a single line of sight into the site at all? They were limited to single doors, and that's something else you've got to remember on Villa. One of the key components of Villa is that all of the sites, they don't have any external windows or doors. You have to play from inside of the map, so you've got no option of, like on Consulate by complete contrast, where you can just sit on 3, 4, 5 windows with views into sight. That's not what you're looking at here on Villa. There are no lines of sight into those sites. So you have to take map control, but more importantly, you have to open up lines of sight into the bomb sites.
It just made things a bit chaotic, and for G2, that's twice now they've attacked on towards that site and it didn't go so successfully. And despite this site working out for them last time, BDS has still opted to come up north to Trophy and Statuary. One thing I think worth reinforcing as well is that if you were to ask anyone in Siege which map is the most defender-sided, most would probably scream at you, Villa. It's very common in the past that we've seen 5-1s, even 6-0s taken on Villa. Sometimes when we go downstairs, for some teams, they don't really be great at defending it, so it can end 4-2. But it is definitely a defender-leaning map. And the fact G2 have even got 2 attacking rounds off it so far definitely isn't anything bad. It is their map picks. You would expect them to have some proficient attacks. If they can take this site the same as they did last time, they're at 3 rounds on attack. That is definitely nothing to be shaking your head at going into the half.
It's certainly an interesting conversation to be had. We have seen more attacking rounds being won on Villa than ever before recently, and that goes hand in hand with this transition that we've seen to the offsites being a little bit more popular, as you've mentioned already. There's Trophy Statuary particularly dropping away from the general normal pick, and we're seeing living room, library and dining kitchen being used more frequently. We can see here by contrast a nice demonstration from G2. As I said last time around on this site, there are 2 ways to push it. You either take control from Aviator Games and work from the south side up, and then you basically create a beachhead where Uno is now, and then you push forward onto site from there, which is what they are doing in this case. Previously, they tried to attack through Master Bedroom and had a lot of success with it, so it would suggest to me that G2 particularly trying to keep BDS guessing here, not wanting them to get familiar with what they're doing, and so they're just trying things a little bit differently.
Uno once again leading in as the entry point, I guess, for his team. Not too sure how I feel about that given the operator that is playing, because as we've already seen, that utility actually won them the downstairs site. Keeping that Capital alive for later in the round can be super useful. In this case, a little bit key maybe to push forward with him. The rest of the team pushing up from the south. Admittedly, when we've seen them attack on the upstairs site so far, when they have pushed from opposite ends of the map, things haven't gone so well because it's given BDS the room to expand out a little bit, flex their muscles and get a couple of kills on the go as well. The fact that we're 90 seconds in and no one's died yet for G2 probably does show that they're a bit more in control now. They are being a bit more cautious. I can't think of a moment from when Uno stopped at 2 minutes, 8 seconds on the clock and got on his drone that we haven't seen at least one of their players on a drone at any time.
Serious damage being done across the board here. Rafal on about 3 HP there, RX on 50 HP. We can see Fabian getting the plant down, and the smoke toss has actually been unsuccessful there. Fabian will get it down before the second Toxic Babe canister can come out, so at 5 versus 5, the diffuser is planted. Uno with the first kill onto LMs. That will be traded out with 2 in return from BDS, but they have got very limited time now to clear out the other members of G2. The remaining 3. We've got RX is on the diffuser.
No way.
Are G2 going to do anything about it? It looks like, yes, there is some disruption. Uno comes in huge and gets 2. Kanto with a 3rd, and that leaves Renshiro with it all to do. He gets on to disabling the diffuser again. He's going to be challenged, but will it be in time? Yes, it will. Kanto Raketti finishes things off for G2. What a round that was. You don't often see the diffuser down with 10 operators left on the board.
That was everything from Uno. You could probably tell by the fact I screamed it. He somehow managed to get upside from Astronomy. I think he came up the stairs, flanked him behind them, and got a triple kill. He gunned them down there as they were defusing. One was covering. He literally won them that round. It forced it into a 1 versus 1, but he did enough to save that round because you saw the utility flying in from the defenders there. There was no way without him getting that angle that G2 would have been able to stop that going off.
So opportunistic from him, but BDS, lessons to be learned. How did Kanto win the last time on that site? He came up through Astronomy when their focus was elsewhere, and he got himself 2 kills, and it swung the round for G2. Exactly the same again from Uno there. So that's something, hindsight is 20/20. Very easy for us to say stat here. Obviously, when there is so much chaos going on, and you've got an attempt to defuse, RX nearly had that. He really nearly had the disable on that, but I think it was, if I correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was Sophia's lifelines that came in and disrupted that and got him out of that animation, so then they had to start the process again. So there was a lot of chaos going on, there was a lot of utility flying about, gunshots going everywhere, so it is very difficult to keep an idea of where, you know, you're safe and where you're not, but Uno took full advantage.
We have one defusing, one covering the angle to make sure no one just charged up red stairs and into the room. The other two were busy pelting utility, like you say, one from either side down into the corridor to make sure no one dared actually challenge the one who was doing the covering. I agree with you. It is hard, it is tough. These are small lessons that you'll learn now because you'll be aware next time, well, if we adapt this strat, we've got to make sure watching on the north side, or at least have got some kind of utility there, some kind of camera to keep an eye on those things. And I was speaking to a couple of the coaches outside, to be fair, from other random assorted teams, and they're saying one thing they're trying to really drive a lot of players to do now is if you're dead, you're not sat watching one of your players, you're sat watching every piece of utility you've got on the map because you just don't know what you might spot coming through that one. I fully expect that the camera in Astronomy may have been shot out, who knows, because they didn't take control of that earlier on. They pushed from the south. It's the small things in Siege that really make these rounds so ridiculously close.
It is, and you've got to remember the level these guys are playing at. You know, yeah, we talk about Legion's utility being able to offer information, but he's certainly not the only one. They had Ella on the board there, and you don't get a little marker on the map with Ella to tell you where the mine has been triggered, but there's only 3 of them. And at this level, players should be able to remember exactly where they were stationed. If an Ella mine had been on that staircase, maybe things are different. Elem's coming in with a big first Nitro kill onto Uno, so that puts BDS in a slight driving seat for this round. It puts them 5 versus 4. We're nearly halfway through the round. We're heading in that direction, and a second Nitro toss, this time from Renshiro. BDS showing a real penchant for the utility here. Sir Boss being downed along with it.
Well, surprised by was last time. Fabian actually shotgunned out at the top of that triple wall, then backed away because the C4 followed in just after. But clearly that time weren't quite ready for the immediate C4 toss to come through. That's 2 C4 kills this round. They got it down onto Sir Boss, and they haven't even had to fire a single bullet yet. Really good show from BDS, given they've lost this site twice so far in this half of Villa.
Yeah, certainly a much stronger approach from them, and 2 early kills doing them huge favours. And, you know, adapting, doing things in a different way, getting players downstairs, using those nitros. We've got Kanto taking shots there. Sir Boss and Key are now stationed in master bedroom. Shaiko will finish Sir Boss off, so that leaves us now in a 5 versus 2, and Kanto will get 1 back for G2, but it could be impactless at this point. There is a big job to be done, 2 versus 4, but if there are 2 players in the world who can achieve it, surely Pengu and Kanto have to be able to make a good shout for that.
You'd hope there'd be the one of them as well. Pengu was trying to push up there, but with the wrong gadget out, really isn't going to achieve very much, and Renshiro will swing around and pick up Kanto. BDS will end that half at 3-3. I think an outcome that G2 will be happier with than BDS will.
Yeah, I think G2 coming on to the defence now will feel like they've got somewhat of an advantage. We've spoken about the defender bias here on Villa. We have seen it have less of an impact recently, it's fair to say. More attacks have been won because we've just had more time, and this is what always happens. You know, we talk about defender attacker sided maps. I wouldn't say there's no such thing, but what I would say is that those stats are very fluid. And whilst a map may be defender-sided for a period of time, it will inevitably swing because there's an evolution then of the attacks. Teams basically get fed up of losing the attacks, so they put extra work in to figuring that out, and then things switch around and they change a little bit, and then inevitably it eventually swings back again.
It absolutely does. Great first half for Uno and Kanto, though, to be fair, the 2 Finnish players really charging through, and RX and Shaiko on the other side are the ones stepping up. We were speaking before about the players you look at on BDS as the ones who are making high impact, and we all said Shaiko, Alems, and Shiro. RX is stepping up and making himself heard here as well for the French side.
Rafal and Sir Boss, by contrast, just struggling a little bit to get themselves into the game here, and I think they just need to focus on that. I think ultimately at this level you've got to have all 5 players firing. I think we might see something a little different from Sir Boss now that he's on the defence. We know that he's very good at giving clear, concise information out. I think if he's focused in that sort of role here, he's on the maestro, he's got the cams, so that's going to be his primary role. He's going to be feeding information into the team, and I think that's when G2 really excel, is when they've got Sir Boss in that position where he's just giving those clear call outs and they're able to go and chase down those kills.
This setup committal coming out of G2 is exactly like we saw from BDS earlier on. A lot of attention at the top of the stairs. How on earth does Pengu let himself get picked up like that? Shaiko gets that opening kill, and Pengu will stay with another contribulous round hasn't really done too much in this game, and that round is is definitely not going to help much more. You can see the two Glow Shields lined up at the top of these stairs. Very similar idea as what we saw before. Just give yourself the ability to have someone playing behind them and making use of this utility to play safe. I like how they've also doubly assured that they can still stay behind the second deployable shield, because it's only the first one that's a Glow Shield right now. So in a panic, if someone's going to rush you, you can shoot that out, you can let them burn utility on that shield. It means that the one a bit further back is likely to be a bit safer, and Uno can sit behind it for a much longer amount of time.
That's it. It gives you 10 safe seconds, whereby if Uno gets pushed, he detonates that shield, it closes that lane down for 10 seconds, and it means that he can relocate reasonably safely if needs be, or he can, you know, make the choice to remain in place and continue to contest it. But it gives him that option at least, that sort of escape route, if you will. So flashbangs will be thrown up from downstairs. We've got the book down there opening things up, as we saw Fabian doing when it was his turn on the attack. RX is just looking to see what angles he can find. He's got some serious support down there as well from Renshiro and Shaiko. Very much using the vertical angles here on Villa, and there is plenty of opportunity to do so. But Uno, exactly what G2 need at this point. Uno is really starting to pop off, heads downstairs and gets that kill onto Shaiko. There's a little bit of a backwards and forwards duel going on between these two.
There's a lot of opening kills trading back and forth between Uno and Alems especially, and so far Alems is 2-1 in those opening kill duels, but still at the end of the world, I don't think. You saw a lot of those Habana pellets getting sprayed out there from the side of the wall, so it's not quite going to have the impact that BDS would have wanted. And we're once again seeing a very similar setup to what we saw when BDS were on the defense. It's a lot of stalling by G2, a lot of time wasting. So BDS are still in a spot where even now they can't assault up these stairs and get rid of either the deployable shields, because they're just constant swaths of utility and bullets and G2 members standing in their way.
Interesting again there, the Ella mine being put to good use. As I suggested, it may well have saved the round for BDS when they were flanked on Astronomy stairs by Uno, and this time it does on the red stairs. We have a kill coming in for Fabian, Uno, Kanto, and that will finish the round off for G2. Fantastic plays from them.
What is it with that site and teams losing so much time? It feels like no real movement is made. There are some attempts from the study balcony to get the wall open with the Habana from afar. There's some attempts to push upstairs, but not a whole lot else. Both teams so far have stalled out when attacking onto this site, and it hasn't been pretty. Now we're going to Trophy and Statuary up towards the north. This is where G2 had a lot of success on the attack, winning 2 rounds and losing 1. Now, 1 round they lost was a very C4 heavy setup coming out of BDS that seemed to catch G2 off guard for the most part. But standing at 4-3, still being on the defensive side, G2 feel like the ones with the advantage here on their own map pick.
I just want to highlight Sir Boss there as well. Obviously, it wasn't so much a criticism, but I pointed out that, you know, his rating so far through the map is quite low, and he needs to try and get himself into the game a little more. Quite interestingly, he did something during that round that was extremely important for G2, but is the sort of thing that doesn't get picked up by the stats. It doesn't get shown by the numbers, and I think it's always important that we try and recognise that wherever we can, because there is so much more to the story of Siege than what you see on the scoreboard at the end of the game. And what happened was the Habana pellets came into study, and they were just about to breach the wall through towards bar and billiards, and that really cuts that site in half and prevents a lot of rotation in from 90 corridor towards vault particularly. And Sir Boss stepped up. There was a hole that had already been opened up, and he stepped up and he shot them off the wall, and it kept that wall solid, and it just allowed defenders that freedom to move around in that site, and that was a really important moment for G2 in that round.
Look what they're doing here as well. This is something that I put on Twitter quite a while ago actually, because I saw it in a game between TSM and I want to say it was Reciprocity, might be wrong. What they're doing here is going for a massive stack inside a closet. What you do is play an Ella in there, put down the goo mines. I mentioned this all the way back in round 1 when they did something similar down at the bottom of the stairs. Ella sits in here, you have 2 ADSs in there, maybe 3 in some cases, just to stop the nade draining in. You put Grizzbot mines just outside either window. If they jump in there, they're going to get shotgunned to death by Fabian. If they try and nade it to death, well, they're losing all their utility to a couple of the ADSs from Jaeger. And it just stops you taking control of bedroom. You can't take control of closet. So this whole east side of the map becomes very, very difficult to assault. Your best attempt really is to go for a Capital like you can see LM's lining up for now, and to firebolt it out once you've burnt out those ADSs.
Fabian choosing to take the peak there, and I think, you know, you're obviously disappointed, Des. I think you're probably right there. A little bit too much aggression from Fabian. He just needs to hold his position in that closet. Yes, he's going to be challenged, but he's going to burn an awful lot of utility, and he could have burnt a lot more than 45 seconds in being in there. As it is, he's stepped out and he's allowed himself to get killed. Big run out coming out from Uno there, but Alems will get the kill, and unfortunately for Uno, he doesn't even manage to finish Rafal on the Hibana, so things not looking great for G2 here on this defensive defensive round. They will lose Sir Boss to Shaiko. Pengu will fight back, but only briefly as Shaiko gets himself a second. Kanto takes one onto Ilems, and that leaves us now in a 3 versus 1 after that flurry of kills. 1 versus 2 now as Kanto gets one for himself. But who else? Shaiko steps in, finishes things off for BDS. They will level things up 4 apiece, and right now, these two teams are like two juggernauts that have been tied together and are just driving in opposite directions to see who can pull the other over the finishing line first. And one thing you know for sure is it's going to be close.
Looks like they might try and go for a similar setup once again here. Returning to trophy and statuary, it seems to be the cursed bomb site. Neither team is having much success there. We've seen attackers now win this site 3 times and defenders win it once. Very curious to see if the setup comes out the same again. There were a lot of lost real gunfights there that G2 could have potentially won on a different day. They hit their shots, that round goes their way to an absolute T. They are changing things, but it looks like they're almost trying to bait BDS into thinking the same thing was happening again. What they're actually doing is putting Fabian on the Clash.
Always interesting to see a Clash come out. It's a real sort of team-based pick. Clash is not a successful operator on her own, generally speaking. In a 1v1 situation, yes, Clash can be quite dangerous, but other than that, she should be easily dealt with if challenged in numbers. So it's always something that has to be worked within the team. You have to have support there so that you can challenge anybody that's pushing onto you, particularly when you've got something like the Zafira on Renshiro, you've got a Capitao on Ilems. They've got plenty of ways of dealing with this Clash. So Fabian going to have to stick with somebody. They're going to have to buddy up. They're going to have a plan here, but he's going to be able, if successful, to feed an awful lot of information back to his team about exactly what the attackers are doing. And that's Clash's, well, she's got 2 primary functions, if you will. She's to slow lanes down so that you can't necessarily push through a door, a corridor, etc. Without challenging her, as we can see she will do there, but also feeding information. It's a walk-in mirror window, so you can just ping that out, ping the locations and communicate exactly what the attackers are doing.
It's a little more fragile than a mirror window, but at least it's moving around, it helps. A walking mirror window is a pretty fair comparison, if not got a few cracks in the window in this case. Now, Uno ran off downstairs at the very start of this defensive half, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him on the roam here, trying to cause a bit of chaos and be a thorn in the side of BDS as they try and stage an attack. It is interesting to see the G2 have got 2 very different strategies they're employing to defend this site, rather than one where they held down bedroom as well. This time around, for the most part, it seems like they've abandoned it as you would come to expect. This is the more of the standard way you play Villa. You basically hold the A site and then watch that triple wall and try and prevent them from running in from the bedroom door. Otherwise, it's a lot of focus around the north side, or as we saw from G2, you can alternate and push entirely from the south. So both sides trying out a couple of different things here, mixing the flavors in to see what really works best for them.
And it's no surprise with 4-all, there is no team that is running away with this, so they're not going to be confident of just thinking, right, we can do this one thing and we can do it again and again and again and win. They know that they need to change things up. They know that they're both playing against teams that are happy to adapt and happy to change things on the defense, and they won't get away with just doing the same thing. We can see Clash now in Astronomy going to take damage from those asphyxiation bolts, but Fabian's footwork is good. Like a ballet dancer, manages to just move himself away from the damaging flames there. Will keep his back to the wall, and this is a really important point of successful Clash plays, is being aware of your back and how angles are onto you. Kanto will clear Renshiro out, and he'll get a second onto Ilems. Kanto, the perfect player to hold this A-site location. His aim and aggression is such that he will take kills into master bedroom all day long. He is going to be very, very difficult to root out of there.
Be very curious to see if he chooses to try and flank into the bedroom at some point when their backs maybe turn, but here comes a flank potentially onto Kanto if he's not careful. Might find himself short-changed, but no! He wins that gunfight every day of the week. A triple kill in this round. Rafal finally shuts that one down, but it's still a 3 versus 2 for G2 here as we go into the final 40 seconds of the round and still trying to find their way in towards the site. Got to appreciate again just how much time Fabian is wasting on this Clash. They can't push through bathroom, they can't push out of bedroom because you've got the other side being watched by Kanto. They're basically being penned in here like a herd of sheep, locked in place, unable to move, and Pengu goes, you shall move no further. Brilliant round from G2, and they take round number 9 as we move away from trophy and statuary.
Great example of how to use the Clash there. Fabian had a moment in Astronomy where it was make or break for him. Capitao sent 2 arrows in there. Asphyxiation flames were all over the floor, but he managed to move himself away whilst keeping himself safe from attackers' angles, and that was very important because as the round progressed, rest, and this is always the case with Clash. She becomes more and more important as the round goes on because she's very difficult to play. It's like playing with a wasp in the room, if you imagine that. Basically, when she gets into sight with you like that, you can't take your eye off her. So if you're trying to challenge somebody else, you've always got in the corner of your mind, the back of your mind, that she might just drop that shield. You might just drop that shield, whip out the SMG, and you're down. So it's very, very difficult to play with a Clash just stood in the corner of the room.
Here's a risky play coming through for you, dropping away the Jaeger instead to go onto the Valkyrie. Not strictly the worst idea, I don't think, because you look across this lineup and it is very similar to what we saw coming out of G2 last time round. The Goyo being used to defend the stairs down to the south. If you recall, every single time we've seen this site attacked, the defending side has been very, very good at wasting the time of the attackers, so much so that the clock runs out and there's not very much that they can do on the other side. Goyo only contributes towards that. We're seeing a smoke come through at the same time, and now you've got Valkyrie for even more intel. And because we haven't seen Valkyrie so far, on BDS's side, quite understandably, there is no IQ being brought to the field. This could be huge for G2 in terms of the intel that they can deliver in this round to each other to make it a greater success.
Round number 10, we are about to get into the action phase of, and it is 5-4 in favour of G2 Esports right now. But I tell you now, this match is going in nobody's favour. It has been absolutely back and forward, and that is what we expected. We knew that this was going to be a huge fixture. We knew that it was going to be exciting. We knew that we were all going to be sat on the edges of our seat. Which of these teams will progress to the playoffs is anybody's guess at this moment in time. Remember, whoever wins here will go straight through to Tuesday and Wednesday's playoffs.
You know, I've been keeping account of how many times you've been said you're on the edge of your seat. Yeah, to break the fourth wall, we have been stood up the whole time.
I'm surprised I haven't fallen over with the volume of excitement we've been under.
Oh, here we go. Always a theatrical one, aren't you? But here we go. Let's see what they can do from below. Then RX trying his best with the grenade from below. Again, with no Jaeger on side, those frag grenades could be more important than he ever knows. Would like to see him hold on to them a bit longer, but he's going to try and see if he can catch someone here. I don't think he will, because it's going towards completely the wrong spot. And that will be the end of the grenades coming out of the Buck. Otherwise, there are still things like the Capital bolts. There's the Ash charges coming through as well. There's options here, but I think G2 have got away here with a nice, easy pass for not bringing a Jaeger with them.
We've got Uno and Pengu just playing at the top of red stairs there, a position that we've seen so important. We can see 3 BDS players in and around the bottom there. Shaco, Ren, Shiro and RX, I believe it is, all looking to challenge onto those red stairs as best they can. They know they have to clear them out, but they're not quite sure what the answer is. Out go the flashbangs, and it will be a full white flash, but it looks like G2 have just dropped back into the 90 corridor, and they will live to continue to fight. We can see a Goyo shield there has just been destroyed, and that is a perfect example of the use of those Goyos. They know that they're being pushed, they know they're being hassled, so they just shoot that out as they're dropping back, and that is 10 seconds breathing space that they can just let that pressure die down for.
More time being wasted those. Yet another one goes off, yet another one goes off. Just constant Goyo shields being popped off here. Now for BDS, they've got to a stage where others may not have before, where back in the first half, G2 barely managed to get control of the south side. They had study in a couple of instances, but they couldn't make it any further than where they are now. But very crucially, Alems is the one who wins this gunfight onto Boss to open up the killings in this round. There's been a lot of utility thrown out by G2 so far. A couple of C4s have flown, but no one's found any big kills by the looks of it. Once he managed to creep inside sight here as well, Shai goes inside, gets the headshot on towards Pengu. They now have control of the site. This is massive for them. They managed to crawl up 90 and get control. How Kanto let anyone get past him, I don't know. Not that it matters, as he's now down and done. Shaiko finds one onto Uno as well, and this looks like it's going to go the way of BDS. We will finally see a team win on this southern site.
That is exactly the push that I was talking about, where they've opened that hole up in the wall just behind Bar. Shaiko finishing things off onto Fabian there, but basically Shaiko was able to just crouch walk in through that hole on 90 corridor, get himself in behind Bar, one of the most powerful locations in that site, and then just open things up. All the focus then turns towards him as Pengu gets killed. Everybody's aware that Shaiko's in sight, so then everybody turns the focus there. Kanto rushes to try and get back in, but is eliminated as he moves through 90 corridor, and it is just essentially it's a domino run at that point. One will fall after the other, and that's what we saw. BDS bringing us back to 5-all, and I will be shocked if this one doesn't go to overtime.
Feels like it's going that way because every time G2 manage to get something and feel like it's consistent and they're starting to figure things out, BDS just crack that egg open and say, we've got it, guys. We know what we're doing with this one now. And that is why that southern site is not being played here, despite G2 losing it out. They're probably just aware that BDS by now have adapted and figured out the answer to deal with the setup coming out of G2. So it's time for change. We're going to go downstairs. We haven't yet seen G2 play down here. They've played on the 2 upstairs sites so far. Let's see if they bring anything kind of quirky or crazy here to defend this one out. We once again, though, have the Ella with the Jaeger, and the Valkyrie joins us for this round 2.
As you said at the beginning of this match, Des, I think it's recently more of an NA thing to be going downstairs. It's more of a North American trait. We've got 2 EU teams here, so it's not too much of a surprise to see us that we've not really seen too much play downstairs. I think we saw BDS go to dining and kitchen once, and as you say, it's the first time GDS go down there.
GDS.
GDS.
Team.
G2.
Maybe if they merge one day, then possibly that'll be the name.
Imagine the mega team that would be created.
I'm still waiting for the first superstar team to appear, absolutely. It's more the superstars are formed within these teams rather than buying all the superstars from around Europe and pulling them together. May happen one day. What did they talk about the defense coming out of G2 early on there? It was actually what they've done is reinforce a number of walls facing down towards the side of the south of the map and got themselves a couple of deployable shields set up where they've then also got the Ella playing behind them. So actually what they're choosing to do is go for a very extended hold down south and essentially try and force BDS to take a big fight off site or ignore it entirely and push more towards the northeast, which seems to be their chosen method as of now.
So BDS are going to be looking to get some top floor control above that site. If you're going in towards dining and kitchen, the area that you're going to be looking for is master bedroom, bathroom and astronomy. That's the area of the map upstairs that is located directly above site. So if they can get RX in there with that booked skeleton key, he will start ripping the floorboards up and we'll see what angles they can get down into site. If they can manage at the same time simultaneously to get somebody in underneath in a position to hold lines of sight into sight, then they will potentially get those defenders as they start being forced to move around. But it doesn't look like that's something BDS are doing at the moment. They're just pushing the top floor, and once they're happy that they've got the possession of the map that they need, they'll start ripping up that floor, see if they can get 1 or 2 vertical kills before aggressing onto site horizontally.
You can see once again though, 90 seconds in, everything is slowed way down because G2 are just very happy holding firm behind these deployable shields. It's probably one of those times where I've seen a lot of deployable shields and then some of the sites, Goyo being brought a lot as well, being used very effectively to basically stall the round out for a good minute or 2. Very interesting to see how a map like Villa, where there's a lot of soft flooring, those things are still being very, very effective and not being easily destroyed from above. Now, BDS has done the right thing here. They said, let's take control of the top floor, open up the flooring, and basically force G2 off the site. So it then becomes a game of retake for G2. You can see 2 members from BDS lurking near the outskirts. Shaco on the astronomy stairs is waiting, because they know that as soon as members of G2 are forced to run off site, they're going to run into the sight lines of these 2 waiting BDS members. So it's a good plan, but as it stands, G2 are saying, well, you know what, we don't want to leave site. We actually quite like it in the kitchen here. There's food there. We feel comfortable. There are places we don't need to move very far. And that exactly is what is happening so far. And BDS are now a bit of a stalemate. They can't catch anyone, so what do they do next? That's where you're going to find out what happens in the next 30 seconds or so.
This was exactly my point about having players in position when that vertical pressure comes in. Shaiko, just unaware of his surroundings there, will step round, and who else but Uno getting that kill onto him again. At least the 3rd or 4th kill for Uno onto Shaiko, really shutting his game down today. Renshiro will get one onto Sir Bosto, and that leaves us now squared away in a 3 versus 3, but with only 10 seconds to go here, G2 are looking pretty good here. They can just hold their angles on site. BDS are going to have to rush in just like that. RX pushes through and loses his life. Uno gets 1, 2. Fabian with 1 in between to finish things off, and that is advantage G2. But they're going to have to take the next round here. Interestingly, they will have a top floor site available, which tend to be the more popular ones to go for this match point.
3 kills for Uno in that round as well. BDS spent so much time again having 2 members set up for the pincer on the outskirts of the downstairs. 3 upstairs opening the floor up, trying to force members of G2 to run out. Didn't really seem to account for the fact that Uno might actually go seeking them and finding kills. And that's exactly what he did in the Jaeger. The carbine, as we always say, one of the best defender guns. He goes on the hunt and finds himself 2. initially, and then ends it off with a third as well. Look at that as well. Kanto, we spoke about the fragger at the start of the game. We said with Serbos on side that the players are now all saying he has one prerogative, that is to destroy the enemy team. He hasn't got to worry about all the other frills to do with defending or attacking, and he is shining on this map.
Kanto and Uno coming out with 26 kills between the two of them by contrast, and it's no surprise again, very close game, but Shaiko and Renshiro, as suggested beforehand, they are the top two on the BDS side, and they come in with 23, so just 3 kills short, and it really is a battle between those two duos as to almost who can carry their team over the line with the most frags. And honestly, it's an absolute thriller. I really don't know which way this next round is going to go, but we are being treated to another absolute classic here at Six Invitational 2020. And remember, this is only map 1. We've got more of this to come.
And remember, this was back on this site earlier on where Uno saved the round coming through for G2 as well. If that round hadn't gone that way, if he hadn't got into the position he did, we could already be staring down a 6-5 for BDS in this case, or worse, and already won a map as the result of the mental damage that losing a round like that could have done. So G2 again, their map pick. BDS have actually put up a very good fight, and I gotta say, all those bans that we saw for the last year or so from BDS, not around for a year, but let's say the last 6 months or so, they've continually banned Villa, and now it feels like they've finally got to a comfortable stage where they show they can play it against a team like G2 who are very confident on this map. I'd say BDS have definitely made a claim to say that this map is now in their back pocket and they can start using it in their games going forwards.
I'm absolutely certain teams are not going to be in any sort of rush to get onto Villa with BDS. You know, they are very, very capable wherever they play, and like you say, it was a bit of an unknown factor really, was BDS on Villa, but they've come out and they've shown that they've obviously been putting some work into it, and they're very, very capable on here. So it's all going to come down to this next round. Does it go immediately in favour of G2, or will we see BDS take the win?
Shaker being downstairs here could be the big upset for them, but equally he's being... no one plays in the basement.
Downstairs.
Unless you're roaming on a roamer, you never play downstairs, and that's exactly what Uno is doing here right now. Maybe trying to cause some trouble, but Shaker's like, I'm going to piece the hell out of here. I'm not hanging around anymore. Because last time round, let's not forget what happened. We had Kanto holding inside an A site, watching in towards Master Bedroom. He's doing that from afar right now with a longer angle through. You've got the clash of Fabian holding inside of Astronomy. They were pinned in towards Master Bedroom and Toilet, and they couldn't do anything around it. They were just locked in this area of the map, unable to progress in towards the sites itself. So they've got to break this apart. The problem is now Shaco's moved on to the upstairs as well. He's in a similar spot to last round, where he's now got to try and break Fabian out of here with his team, and we are already 1 minute and 45 seconds into this round, and it feels like very little progress has actually been made.
BDS have just very, very recently opened up the lines of sight. We can see there through into the trophy room, sorry, the statuary room. So that's going to give them line of sight from Master, and that's just forced a couple of G2 players away. Pengu with one onto Alems, Kanto gets one onto Renshiro, but traded straight back out. An absolute flurry of kills coming here. They're going either way. We are 1 versus 2.
Pengu.
We are 1 versus 1. Pengu on a triple. Can it be a 4K for the round and the match? Yes, it can. Pengu takes G2 over the line, and they take the early advantage in this clash of the Titans between G2 and BDS here at Six Invitational 2020.
Lots of smiles on the face of Fabian as well. He knows that was a good map for them. Maybe closer than they would have anticipated, but smiles all round.
G2 look really happy at the minute, and that is dangerous. I know right now they're talking to each other, and you might look and think, is this happy? What does miserable look like? But just in the last couple of rounds, I've noticed when the cameras flick to the players, there's been a few laughs, there's obviously been a few jokes going on, and that can be very dangerous when a team are playing like that. If a team are having fun, if they're using the operators that they're comfortable with, you start seeing performances like we've just seen from Kanto, from Uno. We start seeing 4K clutches like we've just seen from Pengu. You know, that is what happens when a team are happy and playing and having fun, and BDS need to just maybe be aware of their mental state a little bit and make sure they're not getting too bogged down in this fixture.
I think the problem was in that very last round, they played it the same way they played it the previous time when G2 came out on top. They managed to commit a lot into getting rid of Fabian inside of Astronomy, but by that time it was already a little bit late when it came down to it. Kanto was left unchecked inside of A site, managed to get rid of the one, Rafal traded, and Pengu was there, and same as last time round, to get the trade back. So it played out very similarly, even if it did come down to a 1 versus 3 in the very end of things for Pengu, and he got a 4K in that final round. So BDS had the right idea. They went for the same execution, did manage to find a few more kills, did manage to pull the round in their favour, but again, G2 is just layered with players that are more than capable of fragging out. And I said it earlier on, even watching them on Coastline a couple of weeks ago in their first game with Sir Boss, all 4 players, Pengu, Fabian, Kanto and Uno, were popping off. When they do that, this team looks almost unstoppable.
This is it. I never like to refer to any individual player as the best in the world because we are in a state of siege now where we've got so much talent across the board. How do you define who's the better player between Shaiko, Pengu, Nesk? You know, the list goes on. That's just a few quick names, but how do you define who's best? But Pengu there for me showing why he is certainly in that list. Just came through. I said it at the beginning of the match and he just proved me right in the last round there, and that was he does what his team needs. That is Pengu's defining characteristic. It's not that he's a fragger, it's not that he's a support player, it's not anything else. It's his defining characteristic is that he steps up and delivers when his team needs it in whatever manner that is at that moment in time.
It's the same for all of them as well, and let's not take it away from BDS. They still had a pretty good map, all things considered. Some of their defenses and attacks were impressive. And given that is a map, again, I need to remind you that they have banned pretty much since their inception. I'm very impressed by how they've played that, and I think in Pro League, you're going to start seeing some Villa bans against BDS like that, I have no doubt.
Especially against G2, who we know are very, very good on Villa, very, very capable. Renshiro and Shaiko coming out and having a great game. Thank you, Renshiro, for backing up what I said. I sort of went in on him, and I was hoping that he would deliver, and he did. And they are a great, great team. I said it, I just feel like experience might see G2 over the line. Limited for BDS in terms of LAN environments, and certainly none on this scale of this. You know, there is none on this scale. This is the one. You know, so we haven't seen BDS at this level yet. They have got a long future ahead of them. They're going to be back here again. I'm not saying they're going out now, but I think G2, they just edge it on experience for me.
They're showing it a little bit here, and Kafe again as the next map pick is BDS's choice, so you would hope that there is a bit more preparation going into it. Maybe they're more ready for this one when it comes up against G2. G2 aren't exactly strangers to this map either, though. Both teams have played each other on it in recent history a couple of times, and I believe it's one apiece.
I think it is. We've seen G2 play it in the Pro League season as well. They played it week 2 against Vitality, or played A2 rather. They did take a loss on there. It was 7-5, so it was close, but they were beaten by Vitality. So that's going to give BDS a lot of information, because they will have poured over that VOD to see exactly what G2 did, I am certain. But also, it gives them that bit of confidence to think they are definitely beatable here.
They absolutely are, and I think it's the same for any team at this tournament. I mean, even TSM versus SSG that we saw earlier on, incredible series and definitely worth watching back later if you missed it. I think when you look at that, people coming in saying, oh, TSM are probably going to win it, they look like the best team, no one can stand up to them, and then SSG do that.
I tell you what, Des, I just feel really sorry for the guys who have to try and predict what's going to happen here.
Well, we kind of have to. It's kind of our job, half, but still.
Oh, it's tough.
It is a very hard job.
Very tough to be coming into these matches and giving an informed opinion and saying this is what I think is going to happen, this is who I think is going to win out here, because they are all so tight, or 90% of them are so tight, and that is only going to get more difficult as the week progresses, as we get into playoffs, as we see. We're going to lose 4 teams today, so for anybody who, you know, just is new to us, the structure is such that if you lose your first 2 matches in the group stages, basically you go home at that point, because you've lost your first one, you go into the lower bracket and then you drop out of that. So we are having 4 matches today that are lower bracket games, whereby we will be losing teams, they'll be going home. So we are going to be down to 12 by the end of the day. We will have 4 that have also qualified through to the playoffs, which will be played on Tuesday and Wednesday this week, and that will leave us with 8 teams that will play tomorrow, a further 4 of which will go home when they lose those fixtures. So we are really getting towards the sharp end here, and does experience win the day? Does talent win the day? Each team needs to find their own strength that carries them through.
Absolutely right in saying that, Ace. And we are nearly ready to get into map number 2. Just so you're aware, Kafe will be the next one coming up. And then if it goes all the way through to a 3rd map, I really don't know what to expect. Remind me, because it's completely gone from my head, what that 3rd map is.
Consulate.
Thank you very much. Consulate will be the 3rd map if we get there, but the 2nd one for now will be Kafe. We saw that played in the last fixture earlier on as well. It was chaotic at the best of times. Kafe, nice little snack for Fabian.
Let's have a little few sweets in between. And this is what I mean.
Juice, let's go.
G2 just look a bit more, not casual, they're on it, they're here to play, they're here to win, but they just, the Lems looks super serious, you know? And there's nothing wrong with that, they're focused, but You know, they just need to, BDS, I think, maybe just need to make sure they're not playing with too much tension. They just need to loosen up, they need to let the shots come, and they need to play their game.
And I think going to your own map is really going to help with that. Kafe is one of the ones that we saw Europe absolutely fall in love with when it first came out. I still remember the first day it was available in the map pool, all 4 games in EU Pro League. I hope you like Kafe, because that's all we saw that entire first day. And over time, some of the teams have kind of dropped off from it and realised, actually, you know what, we don't like it that much. We thought we did, but now we prefer the other maps. We know we're stronger at those ones. There are teams like BDS that have still shown quite a tendency towards it. It's one of their maps they go to. Guess it's quite hard. You have to get used to playing it when it's quite popular, and your permaban is always going to be Villa, which is why they've chose to come here today. But again, I don't see G2 being uncomfortable on Kafe. I think you could have gone to a different map that would have made them a bit more unsure of themselves, but Kafe is one of the ones that no doubt they are also quite familiar with.
I think Kafe is going to be a really, really good map for these two, because we're going to see plenty of vertical play. We're going to see roamers on the mid floor. We're going to see those nitro tosses. We saw BDS have a couple of successful nitro tosses on Villa there. It was early in the defence. They didn't really use it much beyond that. But again, it wouldn't surprise me to see your Valkyries, Mutes, Mozzies playing underneath in the train area for top floor defences and just trying to pick people off with those nitros as they push into Piano. But all the talking has been done, Des, and we are headed into map number 2. G2 versus BDS here in this winners group match. So whoever wins out here will progress in the Six Invitational 2020 on to that playoff stage.
I think it's pretty fair to say as well, no one wants it more than G2. Coming back in as the invited team, there were a lot of naysayers who were saying they didn't deserve this, like why have they been given the spot, why should they get the auto invite? And to them to say, look, there is a good reason why we won last year. Yes, it's been a rough year, but we deserve to be here and we deserve to be going back onto that live stage next weekend. If they win this, they've 2-0'd their way through. They have secured their spot as the team from Europe that goes through kind of waving the banner as the first one to qualify, and I know for a fact they want to make sure that it's definitely their name on that plate as through to playoffs.
Some teams just do well in certain competitions. You see it throughout sport, and you know they can fluctuate in others, but they will always turn up for that specific tournament for whatever reason. You know, just you see it in all sorts of sports, and G2 are no different. It feels like no matter what happens, they always feel like they are capable at the Six Invitational of doing something special. It doesn't matter whether they've had roster changes, whether there's been poor form coming into it. Every time they play at the Invitational, there's just this electricity there. And there are other teams that have that. There are other individual players that have that. I commented yesterday about Canadian being part of the very foundations of this tournament. It just doesn't sort of sit right or feel right if he wasn't to be here. And that excitement and passion that he brings is a part of the fabric of the tournament. And I think G2 are exactly the same. They just turn up and they always seem to perform. They get it from somewhere.
Well, there's the read. Now, okay. Monty, Fuse, and Glads. There is one time I remember seeing them do this. It was on Border. I can't remember which team they were playing against, but they used a wacky strat where they basically smoked out the entirety of Vent's workshop, had the Monty charge in, go for the plant, and had the Glads cover from afar through the smoke. Now, the reason why you would look to bring something like a Fuse normally is if you know there is an ADS going to be set up somewhere, you want to burn it out. That's what this is going to come down to. But this goes to show, if nothing else, that G2 have come prepared and they're ready to deal with this. Worth noting as well, BDS found the Thatcher in the setup as well. We of course saw the others come through as the Mirror, the Maverick, and the Echo. The Thatcher is quite a standard ban for them, so it comes through in most of their games that they play on Kafe. So probably not too surprised. It's something that G2 would have prepared for.
So this is how it's going to be, is it, G2?
I'm so in for it. Let's go.
This is how it's going to be. Okay. So, yeah, you've mentioned Fuse there, Des. He's not an operator that we see too often, so he's one that a lot of people might be unfamiliar with. Two primary purposes to Fuse. One, exactly as you said, burning utility, clearing ADSs, barbed wire, goo mines, you know, anything that those little hockey pucks come into contact with, they are going to destroy when they explode. Second primary function of Fuse is to disrupt and move defenders.
Yes.
So you play them into areas and they have to run away from the explosive zone. You need angles and lines of sight going into that area when they do, so you push them, you flush all them defenders into your teammates, much like a duck hunt, and you just get them shot down as they come out of the woodwork.
We've seen that used quite a few times on places like Clubhouse when you're trying to go inside kitchen. If teams are impact tricking from below, you bring a Fuse, you detonate from below as you're getting the Habana pellets on towards the hatch, and there is no way they can contest in time unless they die to the fuse charges. So they've got control of Piano right now. I'm really curious to see how this plays out and where they go to next. Because realistically, if the fuse is already inside, which he is now on red stairs, you'd expect it to be something from a window or from above where maybe he'd make something happen. Unless we're actually defending on the downside, we're defending on the downstairs, we're not on the top floor. Now it makes perfect sense, because this way they can have full control of Freezer, open up downstairs if they want to, burn out all those gadgets like you say, and force the defenders off site. This might actually be what BDS were trying to do to G2 on Villa not too long ago. When they had control of the top floor, they were opening up all the floor and trying to force G2 off. Now Lens is in a bit of a bad spot right now, but not going to get himself caught out. Oh, I haven't heard those noises so long, not since Bronze.
Great example there of exactly the impact that Fuse has on defenders. You know, thank you, Medics, for catching that. So those pucks go down. Elems has no choice but to run to the bottom of that room. Theoretically, I don't think that's what G2 were trying to do there. They weren't using it for that purpose. But if you were trying to, then you would have somebody on that line of sight to get the kill. We can see Fabian put in the sniper rifle of Glaz to good use there, but we will have 2 kills come through for BDS. Quick flurry there leaves us in a 4 versus 3. Pengu on much less than half health on the Montagna, so that is not great for him. He will be easily challenged at this point. We've got Sir Boss and Fabian full health, Capitao and Glaz, so they've certainly got the tools that they might need. Capitao drops down there and puts that LMG to good work with a kill onto Elems. Will this be the change that Sir Boss needs to get himself into this game and start getting himself a few kills onto the board?
They might have done the right thing here where they have control of the east side, so what you might see is smoke come out from someone while they go for a plant inside a site. No, Pengu pushed too deep. I was going to say the idea here they could have gone for, in fact, was just a plant inside the doorway with the smokes while Sir Boss watched off towards the west side of the map. But he pushed too deep, didn't know someone was playing inside a laundry, and got himself tagged. That is how the whole strap falling apart.
I cannot see Shaiko being unrooted here, but just as I say that, Caster's curse, sorry Shaiko. Sir Boss will move in and get that kill. Rafal onto Fabian, but I don't think Sir Boss can do anything at all here. And BDS will run away and pop out at the last second. Rafal getting the kill there onto Sir Boss to finish things off. That's round number 1 going in favour of BDS.
Now, it's very easy to look at that strat and think, G2 are inting, lol, what are they doing, lol. But there was definitely a reasoning behind it. Of course, we're never quite going to know. It's not like we're inside their heads. I wish we were sometimes to know what the craziness is in instances like that, and may yet see the same thing come through once again. But we are changing site. We're going up to Bar and Cocktail to kick things off, and Pengu, for now, is sticking on the Monty, and we still have the fuse coming through for Uno.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with doing things differently, with trying different things. You know, the first time that anything is tried, it sometimes looks a bit weird, and you sometimes question it, and you know, and then 3 months later it might be complete meta. I'm not convinced that's going to be the case here with the Fuse and Glaz coming in.
No,
I think it's definitely a bold choice. I'm not sure about bringing it a second time. It's the sort of thing that it feels like you maybe get away with it once. If they'd have just come in with that round and BDS hadn't been expecting it, so it catches them, you know, sort of on the hop a little bit, and they get that advantage from doing that, then maybe you have some success with it. I'm not sure how much success they're going to see here, especially having not managed to win the round last time with it.
I mean, for all we know, they were maybe expecting it to be on this side, and that's why they chose to stick it out again in the expectation that we'll now see BDS going in towards playing on this top site. They're going to have some concerns that for Uno, really you can only play around windows with the fuse, may yet still quite come to be. But we do know that having a shield charging you down in the form of the Monty, Pengu was always a very prolific Monty player, so seeing him on that once again, it's a bit of a nostalgia for all of us, I think it's fair to say.
I think we all like to see Pengu on Monty, don't we? I mean, to be fair, it's not my most memorable moment of G2 and Monty, to be fair. It's that one has to go to the Penta Evil Geniuses final, 2018.
Your favourite match, as you tell me.
Favourite match ever, without a doubt, and I just remember Fabian on Monty. Necrox missing his shots there in the late round with Fabian diffuser in hand, 10 seconds to go. He gets the pistol kill, and obviously G2 very famously coming back from 2-0 deficit to get the win on that one.
Many, many moments throughout history that are definitely worth remembering. So setting up now on the roof, as you will come to expect, the default way to attack onto this site is that you do take over the top floor, and here we go, a lot of utility being burnt actually in towards these guys. They've even managed to destroy the deployable shield, and now they're going to start looking to get in the red stairs cleared out. There's another fuse charge coming through for good measure, because why not? Pengu straight in with the drone down those stairs to see if it is now safe for them to drop in, and Uno's rotated elsewhere, I assume, towards another window potentially here to get yet another charge, and that's exactly what he's going to do. This one's going inside of White Corridor. Isn't going to stop anyone because actually the Valkyrie managed to spray it off the window there before it could go off.
Always a risk with those fuse charges. They can be shot off through the soft surfaces that they have to be placed on. Can't be placed on any hard wall or reinforced wall. So that will be the charges done. We saw, again, great use of them. A shield in that cigar shop is becoming much more popular recently to try and hold the red stairs drop and prevent the piano room being gained by the attackers. So it has taken some
grenades.
out. And what a nade we see from Fabian there. That will be a kill from Fabian as well as Monty pushes the defenders into his line of sight. Uno pushes him on the fuse, kill onto Shaiko. Now leaves us in a 5 versus 3, and this is going, 5 versus 2. This is going much, much better for G2 at this point. We've got a man up on the skylight. Sir Boss is just holding up there, using the smoke arrows, using the utility to try and gain any advantage he can for his team. We've got Renshiro and Alems dancing around between White Corridor. They're in the bar back area, just trying to get any kill that we can. We can see Sir Boss gets the diffuser down.
No way.
The last 2 kills, Uno and Kanto. Very, very good round from G2.
That was so coordinated and so informed that I would wager based on round 1 that they didn't intend to bring that setup to attack in towards that setup. This round, the fact that they had everything calculated, the grenade spam coming into the members when they were tied inside a cigar with the castle wall facing in towards piano, everything was just orchestrated. They were ready for that one, and that is how you innovate in Rainbow Six Siege. It doesn't matter how old a map is, how old an operator is. I said it yesterday, there are always new ways to play this game, and that was delightful.
200 IQ casting, that does. 200 IQ casting.
Incredible.
You're absolutely right. I think they were debated in round 1, and it was not the expectation. And then we saw when they had the utility on the site that they wanted it, they've put it to much better use. That being said, it looks like it's becoming a consistent theme here. We've got the fuse, we've got the Monty coming again. Fabian is not going to bring the glass this time. He will have the book. That's not too much of a surprise because we are going to kitchen. It's confusingly, I think, actually officially, 2 kitchen sites.
It is.
Kitchen service and kitchen cooking.
Yeah, exactly.
But for the purposes of this, for everybody watching at home, we're going to refer to this as kitchen and service because that is a little bit easier for us. So down on this site, generally speaking, you've got, again, 2 major pushes. You will come through from the left-hand side of your map, which Medics is now showing us, the bakery area. Thank you very much. You try and breach through that triple wall. Quite often you'll breach through the wall on the right-hand side into bakery prep as well, which is now at the bottom, and it gives you a line of sight in to clear anybody out from the bottom edge of site, and then you'll push in and get the diffuser down behind those metal counters. Alternatively, you can go from the other side of the map, from the east side. You'll go through the wall there into the freezer section. Thank you very much, Medics, and you will try to push in to the rear area of site and get a plant down there, often using a vertical angle. That's why you bring the book, because you've got the electrification there. Can be difficult to clear off with that thatcher ban, so if you get in above, mining room there particularly, take up the floor, you can shoot off any kid or bandits that are present.
Hashtag thank you, Medics. It's a thing from yesterday, it's a thing again today. It's one of those,
certainly is.
It's one of your like 1-minute descriptions where a couple of times in there like, thank you, Medics, thank you, Medics, thank you very much, Medics. It's
he
beautiful.
knows what I'm thinking, he knows what I'm trying to explain. He's always got the view that I want next. He's an absolute genius.
The man's got ears.
I'll give a shout out to Marcia as well. Both of the observers so far here at the Six Invitational 2020 have been absolutely fantastic so far.
And you've got to remember as well, Weebcasters get a break, they don't. They are going all day long. Now, of course, after tomorrow when it goes to one stream, it won't be too bad. They can have the break.
Yeah, they'll break
the
it up.
pair of them, yesterday and today, have really slogged it out, so fair play to both.
Absolute heroes.
They absolutely are. Now, on the site that you mentioned a second ago downstairs, there is a third angle to consider. It does involve taking upstairs control, but you can also push down red stairs. A number of teams have chose to bring the castle along. Thank you very much, Medics. They bring the castle along so defenders can rotate in, and what you do is put a castle on either the double doors at the end of that red hallway. That makes it very safe, thank you very much, Medics, to rotate between down, into sight, up the stairs, and you basically have full control of the second floor as well. BDS have not opted to do that, which means that corridor is very exposed. That could be a really good angle for G2 to take control of if they want to, but right now it's getting control of above it, so we can see Uno go to work with that fuse.
So a minute and a half into the round, we can see some reasonable map control being gained now by G2. Uno starting to put those pucks to work and just moving the kid out of the kitchen area there, and Shiro taking half damage for the pleasure as well. In goes the second fuse, and as I say, remember, all the time that these are going in. Not only are they moving defenders around, there is the added bonus that they will take out any utility that they come into contact with, or in fact come anywhere near. They are quite damaging, are those explosive pucks, and the splash radius is quite reasonable. So they will take out a large area of utility for you. We can see Monty coming in again, and BDS at the minute really unsure how to deal with this Monty. Uno going in aggressively, kill on 2, Elem's traded straight back out by RX, so that leaves us 4 versus 4. RX has taken a lot of damage in the process though. He will be one shot from any gun, and Renshiro just above half health, so he is in peril as well. We can see the pressure is mounting, and as I was saying, it doesn't seem like BDS are really comfortable or confident in how to deal with this Monty. They keep coming up against it like a brick wall, and they just don't really know what to do, and Pengu is quite happy to sit there and look at them and feed that information back in.
My concern is that although many members of BDS have been damaged, we're down to 15 seconds on the clock. The time has gone almost nowhere, and G2 are not yet in control of the site. Fabian finds one. They managed to push it from the east side here as C4 sails through from Renshiro and brings down Kanto. That could be enough to close this round out. 2 seconds left and Renshiro gets a double, and unfortunately G2 are out of time. Right idea, but not the right number of kills.
Yeah, I think Pengu was downed as well there with the diffuser. Pengu had the diffuser in hand, and I think he'll just saw it on the ground at the end of the round there. So that will be 2-1 after 3 rounds. BDS taking a small advantage there, as you said, as quite happy to sit in and around site. Didn't really put too many challenges out away from there, and saw some success with it. So pretty good from BDS there.
We're going to Reading and Fireplace. That just screams to me that BDS do not want to touch the top floor ever again.
And why would you?
Because of the setup they've got and how G2 cracked it open like an egg in that round. They're just like, you know what? Let's not go there anymore. Let's just play every other site available to us before we even look at that. So Reading and Fireplace is going to be where we go to again. Still quite effective setup here for G2 though. The Buck, as we saw in that round then, very, very good tearing up the floors. Will have a lot of capability to do that from the top floor.
Round number 4 then, 2-1 in favour of BDS. For anybody who's joined us since the beginning of this match, where have you been? You are missing an absolute classic. But seeing as you are here with us now, I will fill you in. G2 took the first map on Villa, 7-5. It was very close run. It was down to the wire, but they did manage to prevail. I think experience just carrying them over the line in that one, but we had some absolutely unbelievable players. Pengu finished the whole thing off for us with a 4K in the final round, which I think was a 1v3 in part as well for the clutch. So huge plays from Pengu to take them through and give them the advantage coming in here to Kafe. Now that we are here though, this is BDS's choice of map, and they have taken themselves an early advantage on the defence. I'm not sure G2 will be too disheartened by that. I'm sure they'd like to get themselves another round or 2 on the attack, but again, I think much as we saw on Villa, they'll be reasonably happy coming onto the defence if they can be somewhere around level.
I like the setup that BDS have gone for this round as well. What they're actually trying to do now is to slow things down. Don't make it a very quick drawn out affair, or sorry, not drawn out affair for G2 to get towards the site and start assaulting you with Monty the Mountain, in this case, quite literally what his name translates to in French, in case you're curious. What they've run is brought along the Legion. They've got the Goyo on side as well. They even got Rafale there to deny a lot of the intel coming in from G2. So like in the last round, I expect BDS are going through the same sort of process. Slow them down, run the clock down. Let's not make it a kill-based game because we'll probably lose against the Monty, and just make G2 panic as it comes down to the dying seconds.
You're very cosmopolitan, aren't you, Des?
What do you mean?
You're very cosmopolitan with your French translation and your green jacket.
What's the green jacket got to do with it? I feel like a poker table dealer or something.
Exactly.
Sometimes. It's wonderful.
So we are now nearly halfway through the round. We can see Uno there pushing down the stairs and just looking to see if he can get himself any early picks. But top floor control, I think, is largely in the hands of G2 at this point. We see a breach on the wall there. Shaiko is just downstairs in and around the pillars area, and he will be just... No, we've got 2 BDS on top, 3 BDS on top floor. So BDS looking to hold this top floor hard at this point. We've got RX, we've got Rafale, and we've got Renshiro all up there. The big question here is how do you dislodge that Maestro? It is not an easy task when the wall in front of him is reinforced. He's peeking himself out onto East Balcony, and that's what he's going to keep doing all game long as they allow him to stay in here with the Alder.
This is a very common setup you would see if you were defending the top floor, where essentially you draw a line diagonally through the whole map. On the top floor this is, you have the defensive side off towards the northeast, the attackers towards the southwest. And then it becomes a war over 2 kind of key locations, either behind the cocktail bar, or in front of it I should say, or instead down White Corridor, which is where Pengu had angled himself just a second ago. He's now managed to get himself inside a freezer, so has control of that central part of the map. And Shiro's going to find Baby to start the killing off here as well. Drops down. I'm not sure if this was fully intended, but he has dropped, and Uno was there waiting like a piranha. He strikes hard, and now he's in a bit of a duel with someone else who's playing inside a wheel, but can't quite find that kill. But he himself is very low, and it was none other than Shaco. He returns back round for the fight and gets that kill onto Uno to even things out now. 4 versus 3 for BDS.
Intended or not, it was certainly a mistake from Renshiro one way or another, but it is not going to be punished, I wouldn't expect, by G2 here, as we find ourselves in a 4 versus 2 and a 4 versus 1 as Alems gets the kill onto Kanto Raketti. Surbos has a mountain to climb, and it's very unlikely he will achieve it. And there we go, Shaco, who else takes the kill as he drops down to the pillars area. Renshiro showing the power of that Maestro spot there, getting himself a great kill on the Alder, and especially for top floor holds, it's an absolute devil of a place to get somebody out of, because at the Alder it's just hold mouse 1, you can just keep firing all day long. 80 bullet magazine, the recoil is manageable, and when they drop in hatches and trying to push around that corner, forget about it.
And that round played out exactly how BDS wanted as well. They had G2 in the palm of their hand, making them dance the way they wanted to, because like I said at the start of the round, they just wanted to slow things down. They didn't want to get into loads of gunfights for it, although Shaco did have a couple on the ground on the second floor, sorry. Everything was just around saying, well, if they're fighting us on the top floor, they're not assaulting the site, so why is this a problem to us? And it absolutely wasn't. It was like they were attacking a top floor site rather than a second floor one. And well, you saw how G2, the clock started ticking down for them. A couple of panic gunfights came through and really didn't have anything to say about it. Now we're going to see G2 go back to more of a standard kind of setup here. Pengu's still sticking things out on the Monty. And on Pengu, actually, it's worth commenting there that in the break, when we had the players more up on screen, you can see him speaking quite animatedly to the rest of his team. I think a few frustrations coming through here that they aren't cracking BDS open the way that they would like, and instead, they're being forced to play the game to the pace that BDS want them to.
Yeah, BDS playing absolutely fantastically here. I don't want to put it down to, you know, G2 not doing what they need to do. This is all about BDS doing everything that they need to do. They really are shutting down what G2 are trying to do here.
People probably looked at that and thought, why the hell did he just throw a goo mine at the ceiling only for it to fall to the floor and go anyway? Why didn't he just throw it at the floor? On the land build, apparently there is a slight issue where if you just throw a Legion at a goo mine straight at the ground, it can roll for a long time, roll downstairs, all kinds of wild things. So by forcing it to go up to the ceiling and then down, you escape that and it will deploy as normal. So don't think players are suddenly going mental and it's some new crazy way of playing Legion.
You're going to see it in ranked all over the place.
Mate, I can't wait, and I'll be like, what on earth are you doing? But let me play Legion and let's not do that. Don't worry, it's a land-only thing. You will see a few teams do it over the space of the weekend.
To be fair, one benefit of doing it as well, I suppose, on any build is you'll guarantee that your goo mine is underneath the hatch. If you threw it, because he threw it at the hatch, I guess. You'll know then that it is within region of like triggering if somebody comes down the hatch.
That's gone far.
That's gone very far indeed. 3-1 now to BDS coming into round 5. We can see G2 positioning themselves. Kanto just struggling with his drones there. I think it looks like he's got one caught in a mute jammer. We don't have Mozzie on the side of BDS, so we are limited to just the denial of mute.
We've got the sound bug.
We do have the sound bug. That is a little unfortunate. We're going to power through this one. Please don't go crazy. You don't need to mute your stream. You of course want to listen to what Des and I have got to say about this round. But I'm sure that we will sort out that mute sound bug as soon as we can do. So we can see now pressure being applied towards Piano. That is going to be the focus of this attack for G2. They are going to be trying to push into Cigar, try and get control over Piano, and then they will look at pushing on from there. They don't actually have a hard breach option, so they're not going to be trying to breach the wall through to the freezer area. But we can see the north wall there. Thank you. I don't know, it might not have even appeared on stream, but for us at least, we had the mute sound book, so all we could hear was Mute's jammers. But that's cleared up now. If it was there for you, hopefully it probably was for you as well. So we can see there that north wall is open in between the bar area and the piano. That's quite interesting. It's quite a new development in the defence here. You can just see the area I'm talking to the right-hand side of Pengu there. Great kill from Uno onto Renshiro. So the reason that wall gets opened up is to stop the attackers being comfortable in the piano area when they try to go through and hard breach the wall. Obviously that's not going to be the case because they don't have a hard breacher, but it means from the Maestro spot that we saw Renshiro playing in the last round, you're able to challenge all the way through into piano, so the attackers can't just get in there and feel completely safe. So that's why that wall is opened up.
Analysis with Ace. I love it. Breaking down the simple things so I don't have to. But let's see then how they can stage this one out now as well. Kanto, that's 2 kills from windows that G2 have now found in this round in towards that white corridor area. BDS being a little less mindful of what's going on with all of that. And you can see Pengu's inside a freezer on ridiculously low health, but he is still inside, and that is the important thing, because now if you want to, they can start getting the planter in behind them. He's more now here as a standing drone for the team. Alems going on a bit of a flank, but I don't know if he'll be able to surprise anyone from that one. Uno finds his second kill of the round. Alems gets the kill onto Sir Boss before he's traded out pretty much immediately. But once again, we're seeing this timer run all the way down. G2 will win it out with only a few seconds left on the clock. What is it with Kafe today and everything going down to the wire?
Fabian's just saved his team there, been very aware of the flanks. Alems did manage to get one kill from that rotation through Piano, but Fabian reacted very quickly and took him out. Rafal moved up red stairs, and again, Fabian, right place, right time, and was expecting that rotation. Easy kill for him as Rafal pushed in through the door, and that will be the round going to G2. So that brings them back within touching distance. 3-2 now. I think if they can come out of this attacking phase at 3-all, I think G2 will be reasonably happy with that. I think they'll feel some confidence going on to defense. Kafe, again, is, I think, generally considered defender-sided, but I think it can be very, very even, to be honest. You know, I said it yesterday, I'll say it again. It's one of these maps we say defender-sided, it's probably like 55-45. It's really not a significant difference a lot of the time.
It's quite a trade-out. I think we're seeing it leaning both ways for different teams.
Yeah.
And admittedly, with a Monty on the board, that's going to completely fudge the stats anyway, because it's just very non-standard to what we've seen deployed on Kafe previously. Now, as you can see, a timeout being called for G2. It feels like I'm starting to analyse a golf game sometimes here, and we talk about the timing of these timeouts. Yesterday, we saw one as it hit the half-time, and I was like, well, what is there to analyse? Unless you're going for a full mental reset, there's almost no point, because you're now changing things over. Operators are going to change up because you switch sides. You're defending rather than attacking, so on and so forth, and it was a mental thing. I wouldn't be surprised if this maybe was a thing for G2 as well, because one round away from swapping halves, I don't know if it's worth taking a timeout for one single round here, but maybe it is. Maybe they're trying something a bit different. Either way, they're going to stick with what they've got already, as that pause did come through during the reveal phase, and Nomad is being brought along here as well, potentially to try and slow down BDS in some of the rotations they've done, namely from Shaco on that Jaeger.
I think at that stage of the game, I think you're right, Des. I think it comes down to one of two things that you're taking that tactical timeout for, and that is either a mental reset, you know, you're aware that within your team you're getting a little bit of negativity or something, you just want to shut that down, or secondly, you've recognised or identified a major problem that needs addressing like immediately. You know, and I'd say that's probably reasonably unlikely. So it is probably more about let's just slow things down, let's have a chat, let's make sure that we are not getting within our own heads here and losing the rounds ourselves. Let's make sure that we're all on the same page. But it is interesting because again it shows another level of depth that we're coming to see in Siege. You know, we're heading towards a point where psychiatry is coming into it, and mental awareness and mental state is almost as big a part of the game as anything else. You know, confidence coming into games and being able to have those challenges and win those gunfights based on the fact that you're confident and you're pushing forward and you're aggressive in your gameplay can be so important. So it's absolutely no surprise to see that sort of stuff going on more and more.
What I find quite interesting about it is we're seeing the development of Siege now, and I mentioned this on Twitter the other day actually, where it's no longer just about being a fragger anymore, having one or two fraggers on side and rotating between you who's fragging off for your team. It comes down to more than that now. It's about having 5 fraggers on your team and having your supports able to pop off as well, whilst also having all the other capabilities wrapped in. And mentality, I think it's fair to say, has definitely been the biggest piece. Look at Na'Vi, the team that we really backed. Yesterday, they crumbled after that game. They said the boot camp had been a full mental reset for the team. Things had all changed round, and now they've gone through today and had a 2-0 against Rogue. Mentality is a big part of Siege, and I think that, like you say, is the one thing that's really going to define how the things play out going forward in 2020.
It absolutely is, there's no question. But looking back towards the round at hand, we are round number 6, 3-2 in favour of BDS. This will be their final defensive round, and G2 will be looking to come out of this 3 apiece if they can do, I am sure.
It would be nice. I mean, coming out 3 on the attacking half, I think you're pretty comfortable with that on Kafe. Again, it's not really leaning either way at the moment. A lot of teams, when it first came out, were like, oh, it's a ridiculously defender-sided map, and now they're like, oh, actually, it's quite attacker-sided. Basically, all you can say from that is that it doesn't matter what the stats say, teams will always feel very differently about maps.
So 1 minute 30, we can see there is good mid-floor control here for G2. They need to start putting that to work. As I said, when you're attacking Kitchen, there is the possibility of getting in there and clearing out that important utility, particularly those electricals that will allow you to aggress towards these walls. Pengu takes a great opportunity. Who knows what Rafal was thinking there? He had his back towards the door. Surely he must have heard it open and the Monty behind him. Maybe there was another sound that masked it, but one way or another, Pengu is able to drop his shield, pull out the pistol, and get an absolute freebie onto Rafal.
Who knows what he's thinking? You know who does know? Who knows? Hey, beautiful.
Oh,
it's
dear.
honestly, I had to, mate. I've been waiting for that one all match long, to be fair. Pengu on this Monty, once again, though, showing that it doesn't matter what gun you've got, as long as you can click on heads, you're still going to win these gunfights. But interestingly, a stat that is always carried about Pengu is he is one of the players in Pro League who has a very low headshot kill percentage. In fact, most of his frags come from body shots, yet he still is one of the best and most consistent fraggers in the game around the world. It's insane to think about it that way.
Certainly is. So
that's my excuse for being really bad at clicking on heads.
We come into the final 20 seconds, and this is something that we saw last time that G2 attacked this site, if you remember, Des, was a lack of speed in getting into a planted position. As it stands, I think Pengu is looking towards doing that now, and yes, he will have the Monty shield on his back, and his teammates are covering him. So gets one kill. Alems will get one back. Fabian trades that out with one onto Renshiro. 4 versus 2. Diffuser down, and this is looking like the tactical timeout worked wonders for G2 as Sir Boss and Kanto Rackete finish things off for them, and they have a much better attack onto Kitchen and come out of the first half 3-all.
More smiles, more laughter. Fabian recreating the meme with a bit of a sip of Red Bull between those rounds. But I think they'll be very happy with that. The 3-3 at the split is definitely not a bad outcome for them. And now they go on to the defensive side. Let's not forget once again, they're currently 1-0 up. This is the map pick of BDS, and G2 have stood up very, very well in the attacking half. They're running Monty in every single round. I know Monty's a thing sometimes on Kafe, but not to the stage where it's brought to every single site on the map. So fair play to Pengu. Even when he's come out that way, he's still found himself killing that one as well and contributed very greatly to the team.
So we're heading towards round number 7, and we will be flipping sides now, as we've said. So G2 move on to the defense. We're going to see Castle coming in there. We've got Mute, Maestro, Ella, and Jaeger as well. It looks like we've got a good mixture there of, we've got some deployable shields, we've got barbed wire, we've got nitro, we've got impact nades. So we are looking at some aggression. We're looking at slowing things down as well. Now, this is the setup that we've seen a lot more frequently recently in the terms of defending piano. So you have a deployable shield, you have a couple of ADSs, and you play hard in that cigar shop to try and prevent anybody coming through that red stairs drop area. What you need is a castle in behind you, so I'm sure that that will probably happen at some point. Fabian will move over and generally castle the double door. It looks like he might be heading towards there now. Generally speaking, you need that because if somebody can rappel in through the windows, there it is. You need the backside of Pengu defended there, so that's what that castle barricade does. Just provides a bit of safety for Pengu. So he's going to have the shotgun there. He's ready for close range encounters, and that's what he's looking for as people filter in through that red stairs door.
And this is something I'll give to a lot of the teams who have started adapting and playing this way. One of my biggest criticisms of Kafe when it first came out was every single attack starts the same. You go on the roof, you open both hatches, you drop at the top of red stairs. Normally you'll have a Thermite or a Hibana who will open up the double wall that you can see now where Pengu is, and then therefore you've got control of Piano. Then you've got to fight someone who's playing on Pixel down in the southeast of Piano. And it was just the same every single time. But now the teams are changing this up by doing things like this. Deployable shield, mute jammer, 2 ADSs, castle wall behind you so you can't be shot from the window on the south side of Piano. It just makes it really hard for the attackers to get control of these red stairs. So you're denying more map control early on, which comes down to seeing what we've seen already happen quite a few times on this map. That is that the attackers begin running out of time as the map goes on. So it forces action a bit sooner, it forces a bit more adaptation to be required from the attackers, and I think over time you will start seeing teams attack different areas of the map, so it doesn't always result in this stalemate that takes place around the top side of red stairs. And again, that is the beauty of Siege. It's constant counter-strapping over each other.
Counter-Strat and Evolution, that is what the game is absolutely built on. So we are halfway through the round now and we see no major progress from BDS so far, but still plenty of time. We can see the ADSs are gone and the shield is gone, but there is still plenty of resistance being made in the cigar shop area. We can see Kanto gets a kill onto Shaiko there. Fabian is just holding a hard angle behind that bar. He needs to be careful. Shots coming in through the window will alert him to the presence, though. Uno gets one onto Renshiro, and we find ourselves quickly in a 5 versus 3 in favour of G2 here. Rafal looking to push into cigar shop, but very tentative and unsure of the safety of doing so. We can see Uno moving underneath. He's going to look to flank up red stairs here, and I'm not sure that there is any utility in place to prevent him doing so. Obviously, we don't have... I'm not sure if an air jab has been put down or not. That is going to be an important factor here. I would expect there to be one. I would expect there to be one on red stairs, but it's not to say...
There you go. Behind the platform.
Yes, very clever placement there. That's why I couldn't see it. So that will prevent Uno moving up those stairs on the flank without at least being known. they're very aware of this, they're very concerned about his position, and they know that there is the potential for him pushing up there.
30 seconds left in the round. They've only just managed to get control of Cigar and now pushing in towards Bar. Still at this numbers disadvantage, mind you. Kanto has got a slither of health remaining, but it is still a gun on one of the best fraggers in the game that is alive and pointing towards the members of BDS. One crawling behind Bar, one near side of Bar as well. They did not expect that, and BDS have got full control of this one. Serbos now is in a spot to get himself down by Rafal, who finds himself a triple kill. We're down to 5 seconds remaining. It's a 2 versus 1. I don't think there's really much hope for him here. He can try and stick a plan, but he's got to go for frags. It's not going to happen, and G2, with a rock-solid defense, managed to hold BDS back for 2 minutes and 30 to force a very aggressive final 30 seconds in which G2 come out on top.
As you say, BDS made it very close at the end there by keeping Uno at bay and him not being able to return upstairs. It did sort of hamper G2 a little bit. It was a gun that wasn't being used in that defense, and it did give Rafal the opportunity to move through site relatively unhindered and get himself a couple of kills. But ultimately, in a 1 versus 2, 5 seconds on the clock, diffuser in hand, he had very little choice. He wasn't able to get both of the kills in that time, pretty much because of Uno being downstairs, so he wasn't in a position to be killed. So then it came down to he, one way or another, had to get that diffuser down in the next 5 seconds. So it was going to be a huge ask. We see G2 take the lead for the first time then after round number 7, going 4-3. Both rounds post-tactical timeout going in their favour.
This is one slight criticism I would levy at BDS on this map, is their attacking lineup does always tend to come out looking the same. And we mentioned Shaco earlier on, how he leads from the front. He's the guy out there finding frags, pushing his team up, and that is part of the aggression that BDS are renowned for. Even in doing that, he plays operators like Hibana, who very usefully can open up single slots and towards walls, can open full crouch holes, whatever it needs to be, he can do that work all by himself. That sort of role, as we've seen for G2, is reserved for someone like Sir Boss, playing on the supportive side of things. So two very different dynamics here, both using very crucial hard breach operators, one using it as a fragger, the other actually using it as a genuine hard support operator. And it's just very interesting seeing those small differences coming in between sides. Now looking over at G2, we're seeing coming through something we haven't yet seen on this map. The Mute and the Mozzie together, we touched on this yesterday, that means essentially 7 touch points where drones cannot progress through the map. And a bit of a run out coming through from Uno, gonna find no one but gets himself found out there. BDS a little bit quick and probably aware that might be a thing coming through, adapts to it perfectly.
You can see confidence building in G2 there. If Uno's willing to go for that sort of a run out.
Oh, he did get a kill. Did I miss that? Or did someone get it from
No,
upstairs?
Kanto got it. Kanto traded it out with the kill onto Renshiro. So it just shows a confidence from G2 there, willing to take those run outs, even at 4-3. And that could be dangerous for BDS, but it was very, very good for them shutting that down, because it will just mean that G2 think twice before doing that again. No harm in trying it once, but you can't keep losing lives at the beginning of rounds to it as well. So they will be cautious, I'm sure, from here on in.
Same setup once again, like I mentioned in the last round. This map tends to always start out the same way. Take control of the 2 hatches on top, drop into red stairs, air jab there if you've got that available. It's back in the same spot as in last round. Don't know if G2 are aware that it gets placed there, so need to be wary if they do try and go for a rotation. But as we are on the downstairs site here, what you are likely going to see is BDS trying to take control of the top floor as everyone steams in through red. Take control of the top floor, open up a lot of the soft flooring, and start trying to force the members of G2 away from site, like we've seen them try to do on quite a number of sites so far. However, with 2 or 3 members upstairs, G2 can contest this, and contest it they will, as G2 finds a lens, and suddenly we're down to 3 members left alive for BDS, and that is a lot of firepower loss that they could have used when trying to assault this site.
We've seen, though, that BDS are quite happy to play from a man disadvantage. They will not be scared at this point. They're only 1 man down. It's 4 versus 3. They've still got Shaiko on the board. RX has been playing very well as well. He is on the sledge, and they can open up as needed if they can get this top floor control. So that is important. Could factor in the late round, and he does have a nade in hand that will down Sir Boss. Shaiko moves in with a big double there, finishing Sir Boss and getting the kill onto Pengu with a headshot. And this one has taken a very quick swing. As I said, BDS not scared to play from man disadvantage, and they put themselves back into pole position. 3 versus 2 now with a minute on the clock.
I think the only 2 teams I know of that use Hibana in such an aggressive way is BDS and Team Secret. Leon likes to play it an awful lot, funnily enough, exactly where Lems came from, formerly of Team Secret. Now on BDS, as we can see, currently dead in this round. It's the coordination that you saw there coming together. They knew where Sir Boss was, and every single member that was left alive, all 3 of them, we had the impacts coming through, the flashes coming in, and the rush forward from Shaco to secure that kill, which then turned into a double. G2 were not ready for the pace at which BDS moved there and got themselves caught off guard. We're now down to 20 seconds, mind you, and they haven't yet managed to sniff out Fabian or Kanto. This is where a lot of work comes in, a lot of risk potentially, as they might have to start pushing in blind.
They might have to. We can see the plant going down there from Rafal, and that leaves us 1 versus 3. None versus 3 as Shaiko finishes off a 4K at least.
Yeah, 4K. I was going to say, what more can you do? What can you do when Shaiko has a round like that?
Red Shiro got the opener onto Uno, didn't he? Yeah, so it wasn't an ace. Shaiko,
can I just raise again? On a Hibana.
Yep.
On a Hibana, he
20 round mags. Absolutely terrifying.
So comfortable.
Absolutely terrifying. So 4 apiece now in round number 9. We are heading for another classic here on Kafe. It's, I am certain at this point, going to go the distance. I think we will probably see 12 rounds out of this, but which way will the cookie crumble? Where will the map go? Will G2 finish the match here and qualify through into those playoffs on Tuesday, Wednesday? Or will BDS stretch us all the way to Consulate? I think I know what I'd like to see.
We thought we were going to see the same on Villa, though. We thought it was going to go all the way. It wasn't quite to be the case. It ended 7-5, as we saw, so not quite the overtime slugfest that maybe we were expecting going into that map. But Kafe may yet prove to surprise us. Now, I think this is the first time we are seeing us playing on the downstairs. We've seen top floor, we've seen second floor, and now we are seeing first floor as G2 set themselves up to defend inside a kitchen. Now, quite crucially, they have brought along the Pulse, an operator that was banned away from them when they played on Villa. It's going to be Uno manning that one from the downstairs, probably in expectation that knowing RX is playing on this sledge, again, BDS always seem to bring exactly the same attacking lineup. They know that the sledge will be doing work above kitchen, so it's on Uno to snip him out and find themselves a C4 kill, and they have 2 of those, 1 on the Pulse and 1 on the Kite.
I was going to say G2 need to get themselves a couple of opening kills here, get themselves a nice man advantage, maybe get some utility off the board. That being said, that's exactly what they did last round out, and BDS just were not scared by it. They just carried on, plugging away, and they got themselves the advantage and got the plant down. It's one thing I clocked earlier, but I didn't have time to raise. A really interesting stat. There were 11 rounds in the last map. The G2 obviously won. How many opening kills do you think they got? Probably about 3.
3 is absolutely right. 8 for BDS, and G2 still won the map in the fashion they did.
Uno will come out with that opening kill. Great Nitro onto RX there.
Yes.
Sledge has gone, so that will be the vertical option. Not completely removed. We've got breaching charges on the Zofia, so Rafal, his importance within this team just doubled. He has the destructive capability of the gas propelled grenades. He has the breaching charges as well, so he is now their option for getting that floor open. If Rafal dies, then it is all down to a horizontal attack.
Which is never too fun when a team is set up and ready for that sort of play, although G2 have come quite armed for more of the vertical one in this case. Same thing with Fabian being on the Kite here as well, as mentioned. Got to block anything out there and stop any walls being opened up. It's very normally used on that wall you were looking at there, which is the freezer wall. In this case, I don't actually think it's being used to electrify that one. They've actually got a rotation hole cut through it instead, where Pengu is playing off towards the east side as well. So this white corridor is basically off limits. G2 is saying, sorry guys, the warning tape is up. There are some construction works going on here. Enter at your own risk.
So we are 1 minute 30 into round number 9 now. BDS have lost 1 man and 2 shock drones as the second is taken out there. We can see that they are preventing rotations with those air jabs. Quite normal use for those. You get them on the stairs and it prevents anybody moving up there without you being aware of it. They need to start mounting a bit of pressure here, and that is what BDS are trying to do. But Fabian will get a Nitro kill. That's the second on the round. Renshiro fall into that. Shaiko will move on to a challenge of Pengu and will get the kill, but lose his life shortly after. Sabos put in the Alder to great use to take the head off Shaiko. That leaves us now in a 4 versus 2 and a commanding lead within this round for G2. This, with the clock as well, 45 seconds, and that's ticking away quickly, is going to be very difficult for BDS from here.
And Rafal's still got 2 of those breaching charges as well, so hasn't really bothered playing vertically. They just don't want to at this point. They more want to try and play the horizontal game, but like I said, this white corridor was a no entry zone for BDS, and yes, they managed to get rid of Pengu, but they had others covering them from the north side near the bar, down red corridor, off towards North Bakery. And Fabian finds himself a couple of kills in that round as well, will pull G2 into the lead, and quite a substantial one at that. This could be a 2-0, and suddenly all questions as to why G2 with the team are invited evaporate and disappear as they proceed into the playoffs.
I don't think anybody would have predicted a 2-0, or not too many people would have been keen to predict a 2-0 before this. It was, you know, it's always going to be one of the closer matches of the day. It was always going to be difficult. And even from this stage, I would still not be surprised to see BDS and come through and take this, even inside 12 rounds, to have a little run now and just get 3 in a row. We can see a Tachanka pick from Uno there. I think that's just a little bit of a debate.
He's locked it in.
We're surely going to see... Okay, we're going to see Tachanka Stratdes. I'm sure you've got plenty of information about those in your pocket, so I'll let you talk to us
sorry,
about
mate.
that.
All the research I've done into Tachanka has just been me on my knees praying to the Lords. That is all it's come down to. You may not research the Lord, you can only appreciate him. It's the meme we have in Rainbow Six, in case you're new to it. The Lord Tachanka is on the field. Now, every time I've seen him employed, he's not been particularly useful. As you may expect, very, very static operator.
Very kind of you, Des, to put it in such gentle terms.
He's not very useful, let's be honest. This is the biggest use you now have with the new deployable shield, so that you can stick his gun behind it. You have the one in front of you to protect your body. Of course, your upper body is then protected by the glass in front of the gun. Essentially playing a role of what a Maestro would here, but they still have that on-side in Sir Boss, so I'm quite curious to see where they're going to move Sir Boss away to. And no, this isn't G2 being disrespectful or throwing around. Again, as we saw in rounds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, they play with a number. They play with the Monty, they play with the Fuse, they play with the Glass. They had ideas on how to make these things work. So I'm very curious to see how this setup is going to benefit them.
One way or another, this is going to be the greatest decision or one of the worst.
Yeah,
there's no in between with this. They're either going to be hailed as geniuses for trying something just extreme and different, or they're going to be called out for a silly decision, one way or another. The problem with that Tachanka and where he is that the floor underneath him can be opened up. He's on a soft floor, so it is very easy for RX to move in underneath. Thank you, Medics, once again. Into reading room.
Thank you, Medics.
Into reading room and just open up that floor underneath him and clear him out. It will not be too difficult at all, so G2 need to be very, very aware of that weakness. I'm sure by this point BDS will be fully aware that there is a Tachanka on the field. We spoke yesterday about why Lion is so powerful as an operator in Siege, and that is because to stand still in Siege for more than a couple of seconds is usually to die one way or another, because you will be challenged, information will be gained, you can be naded, there's many ways you can be killed, and Tachanka is another operator that forces you to do that when using his gadget. You are stationary.
But look, there are 3 of them playing inside this far room, and that's going to be Fabian finding a kill from below with that one. Shaco finds one across onto Fabian, so instantly traded back out from there, though. That is the Kaid down and dead. But it's worth noting there are 3 of them playing around that Tachanka right now. His servants are there, one to protect him from the north, which I believe is Sir Boss, and then to the south we have the Jaeger also covering the angle out as well. There he is, it's Pengu playing on that Jaeger. So I imagine there'll be some downstairs angles being held here. I didn't quite see anything about any holes in the floor to be able to give them that downstairs vision, but even here with this bulletproof camera on the reinforced wall, they have all the protection they need there, all the intel they need to make sure that Tachanka gives enough threat that we're not going to see BDS just Hail Mary forcing themselves through bar.
We can see the deployable shield being used in Pixel Corner there just to offer some security to the man in white corridor so they can just hold back the push into Piano. Shaiko seriously low health here, and RX is off the board, so that is the option of Book gone. We can see the diffuser just dropped down the red stairs from Ilems there.
Medics, we just want to check whether Rafale's got any of his impacts left alive. Okay, so he doesn't. So this is now a problem, because that would have been the last option with RX being dead to get below and to make this work for them. Not quite going to be the case. And look at this, just from afar now, the Tachanka is doing enough that he's holding things down for them. The threat is there that they cannot contest him. Yet it was Sir Boss who found the kill. Which way do you look? You're staring at an Alda or you're staring at an LMG? Either way, it is murder. 2 kills come through for BDS. Pengu gets one back onto Rafale. Wasn't a trade for either of those other 2 kills to still have to worry about them. There are now 2 left alive for G2. The Lord has fallen. It's a 2 versus 2 with 10 seconds left on the clock.
This may well be that Tachanka has wasted enough time with BDS, unaware of how to play around him. We can see a ring around the roses going on as Jaeger moves through with a pistol, will get the kill, and that is going to be the important one. Pengu getting the kill onto Renshiro there, dropping the diffuser, and the time will run down. Nothing that BDS can do at that point, and G2 move on to match point. Tachanka, I'm afraid that what's happened there is that he's fallen into a grey area, and we're going to have somewhat of a divide amongst the community as to how good an idea that was or not. Now, he wasted a lot of time, and BDS did not know how to deal with him. They did not send RX underneath to clear him out, and they could not move through Red Door or Cigar for fear of being hit by that monster of an LMG. So, in some ways, I would argue that the Tachanka pick actually did a good job there and helped them to waste a lot of time.
It helped that Fabian found the opening kill with that C4 to make it work so well for them. But the other key thing, admittedly I didn't see it, but the way that Pengu kept looking, I assumed it was the case. He was positioned towards the south of the Monty with a couple of kill holes in the Monty. The Tachanka, sorry, I haven't said that word so much. Clearly Monty is the only one that sticks to mind.
He was all shielded up, to be fair.
Exactly, it's just a different kind of shield. One that actually shoots back is the problem. And I think what we saw with Pengu had a couple of holes through the floor. So what he could do was see down if someone was going to push into the doorway way from the north, and he knew if someone was coming from below to try and threaten where the, I was going to say Monty again, where the Chanka was playing. So it was a good setup. It was very well thought out by G2. It was very much so protected to Chanka, but it worked out for them. It's another round on the board, and they're one away from taking this 2-0 over BDS.
Still don't think it's going to be something that we see into sort of normal meta and play, I'll be honest, but there is absolutely nothing wrong with coming into even big tournaments and just throwing something unusual into the mix just to throw a team off their stride. And we have to say, if G2 go on to win this here at match point, maybe that was part of the difference. They've thrown something in. They knew that they had this hand grenade that they could just throw into the mix, and BDS don't really know what to do with it. It's not something they can possibly have strategized against, so they then have to react on the fly, and it just buys G2 that one round that they needed to get onto match point and just to create that little bit of separation so that they've got some breathing space here. They've got 2 bites at the cherry to close this one out.
Yeah, I've got a couple to make this one work. I've got to say, you look back at this match historically, it has been one of the wildest Kafes I think I've seen. Both on defense, bringing a Chanka, on the attack, bringing a Glaz, bringing a Monty, bringing a Fuse. I can't wait to get into ranked and have a bunch of kids start telling me, you know what, well, G2 did it, therefore I can do it as well.
I've picked a Chanka.
I've got Chanka, I'm playing Fuse because they did it. You know the game mode's hostage, right? I'm still going to play it because G2 did.
You're not Uno.
No, absolutely not. Let's see how this round can go for. No, they have started off in red, or at least top of red stairs where you would expect them to. Shoka holding a bit aggressively inside Cigar. They're will give them something to think about. Doesn't want to find himself getting flanked out, but they now have full control of Piano 60 seconds into the round. So this one is moving a little bit quicker than you might expect. Ping's coming through there on towards the softball. They know they want to get this open as that's where they want to go. You always want to take control of Freezer here, so you have full control of the bar area and essentially start forcing players like Sir Boss to be in very uncomfortable positions. Bit of a C4 coming out there. That's a bit overkill, Pengu, but I'll give it to you. Fabian finds a kill elsewhere onto RX as well. Beautiful stuff coming out of G2. Leaves this one in a 3 versus 2. Almost like the number just follows them every single place they go.
5 Nitro kills on the match so far for G2 on defense. They are having an absolute field day with that utility, and it's always important as an operator that you can use the full arsenal of tools that you have available to you. I agree, maybe a little bit of a flex kill from Pengu there, but why expose yourself? At the same time, you can argue that he's just keeping himself safe. He doesn't know if there's another person pushing white corridor from Piano to try and support, try and debate him out into getting that kill, and he avoids that by doing so why not use it and make sure that you secure it safely? As it stands, we can see shots going through the soft wall. Very quick reactions there from Uno to drop into the prone position, and that actually saved his life there. We've got the remaining members of BDS. Their hopes remain with Renshiro and Rafal. This will not be the end for BDS. If G2 win here, they will go into the lower bracket and play again tomorrow. But
this round still prevails for another 25 seconds at the very least. I've got to give it to Fabian as well. He's stacking up there on the kills so far. Pengu gets dropped down by Renshiro. Now in a 2 versus 2. BDS have got 18 seconds to keep this one going. They're going for the plant. Fabian is down below. No C4 in hand means he's got to run up to the north side here as well. Are they watching the angle? Yes, they are. He finds the headshot, doesn't find the second, but the diffuser is down. It's a 1 versus 1. And Uno's had such a good day so far. Has got it all to do to close this one out. Getting in the right angle there as well. Must surely know where he's snuck away to. It's Ring Around the Roses once again. Going to bait it out there with the defuse. 4 seconds remaining. Uno picks up, knows where he is, goes for the kill. Uno finds it. G2 will go 2-0, and after 2 matches, will find themselves going through to the playoffs as the first European team to go there. Woo! Let's go.
What a play from Uno there. Perfectly baiting the disable and then just moving back. He knew that BDS were going to move through that single door and not the rotate. He hits his shots, no surprise. He's been hitting them all game. 11 again. He must be over 25, I think, on the entire match. We've got a 25 combo between him and Fabian. Des, you said that Fabian needed to step up. Fabian said, okay.
Oh, I can't wait to see him talking mad chat on his Twitter later as well. He knew that yesterday wasn't a good day, and the best thing is about Fabian, he's always very honest. He knows if he doesn't have a good day, he's going to own up to it and say tomorrow will be a better day. And well, he's
going to be the best player in the world tonight.
He's going to be the best player in the world once again. I can't wait to sit around and for him to turn around to me and just go, see, told you I wouldn't suck. And absolutely suck, they did not. That was a brilliant 2-0 victory for them. For BDS, got to give them a bit of a shout out. They dealt with some wild stuff there on Kafe, on Villa. After not playing it for so long, they put up a very good show. 7-5 to G2 on that map as well. Didn't really get tested yesterday by Wildcard. Been tested definitely today against G2. And still got high hopes for tomorrow to find themselves going through to the playoffs as well.
That's exactly it. Now we're going to have many more decisions coming through. It's unbelievable players showing on the highlights. What a match we've just been treated to. It almost didn't deserve 2-0 really. I thought, you know, we might get a third map out of that and it would have been a fair reflection. Both teams certainly playing their part there. If you don't want to know the result over from Bravo stream, just cover your ears for a quick minute. I believe Reciprocity won over there. So that will mean that BDS will be playing them tomorrow for the final qualifying position from this group.
Reciprocity is still full of hope as well. Speaking to the coach outside, he was like, we're still making it through tomorrow. We know we're getting through, and that's all that really counts. So let's see if that turns out to be the case when it really boils down to it. They're confident they can get out. I'm sure if you ask BDS, they'll say exactly the same. One thing's for sure, it isn't the winners bracket games that we're seeing today. Tomorrow being played, of course, it's the one where those from the lower bracket and the one who falls from the top bracket, in the case BDS, face off to get through to playoffs. And all those games are already sounding exciting. We've only seen the epic conclusion of 2 groups. I didn't see that C4 at the time, but that was
absolute
incredible.
Beauty, wasn't it?
Oh.
NA so far, I would suggest on top of things in the NA EU cause, but G2 putting up a strong argument, and it could well be that Group D becomes the group of EU if BDS can qualify as well. So shouts being made from all regions. We saw NIP play very well yesterday, and it will be either those guys or MIBR that will be going through as well. So we've got shouts from all regions nearly looking at positively progressing in this tournament.
Spencer from CGG, if you're watching, I would love to know how many C4 kills there were in this match, because I think that is probably the map I've seen the most C4 kills on. Every single round, it seems like there was 1 or 2 coming through, a lot of them from Fabian admittedly, but it was explosive, both literally and figuratively.
It certainly was. I'm looking forward to the rest of the day, Des. We're going to have some more fantastic fixtures. We've got plenty more coming for you on the A stream here. Who's up next? It's Team Empire against Dark Zero.
Yes, it is.
We'll be up here next. We will have Kickstart and Intero back for that one. We will be heading over to the Bravo stream, where we will be bringing you Fnatic versus FaZe, and then Blue and Stokes will finish off with the 4th game on the Bravo stream, and Kicks and Intero will stay right with you on the A stream.
And then tomorrow it heads over again to those final games to determine who goes home and who goes through to playoffs. It's all building to an epic conclusion here in the group stages. But to make sure we can catch our breath before that conclusion approaches us any further, we'll go to a quick break and we'll catch up with you guys over on B stream. Stay here, of course, for Kicks and Intero for the next match of the day.